it is still going to be the northern areas that remain the mildest throughout. Bye-bye.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's Patrick Christies tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christies tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camila Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camila Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hello there, very good morning to you. The government woos the world of artificial intelligence in a bid to get Britain growing.
The Prime Minister shrugs off market turmoil as he unveils an AI action plan in a bid to lure the investment that we so desperately need.
All while the Treasury carves out plans to ruthlessly cut away at public spending. But is this a fast track to another age of austerity?
A grooming gang's whistleblower makes shocking new claims that the first inquiry was a cover-up.
Plans to reuse old graves, including those of war dead, are branded utterly disgraceful. GB News investigates whether a counter-petition could challenge burial laws.
Under 30s are admitting to hiring people to do what some might consider the most simple of tasks, like changing light bulbs. We're debating this morning whether the young have had it too easy, and is it time for them to toughen up?
I'm available at £50 an hour to change light bulbs, by the way. And in sport this morning, in the FA Cup, a 10-man Manchester United win. A pulsating game at Arsenal goes to penalties as well. Oh, there we go. Whilst the glorious Spurs beat Tamworth from the 5th tier.
Not Tamworth.
Tamworth from the 5th tier. 3-0, I'll have you know, although it did take extra time. And in British tennis, well, in Australian Open tennis, British #1 Jack Draper has lost the first set of his first game.
There's a north to south contrast in temperatures this week, but perhaps not in the way you'd normally think of it. I'll have the full weather details later on.
Very good to see you on this Monday morning. Good morning to you. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast with Eamon and Ellie.
Now, this week is National Pothole Week. Wednesday's National Pothole Day. So if you went down a pothole, maybe didn't come out again, like a friend of mine did, had arranged a very vital, important appointment with him on Friday, but he didn't turn up. Why? Because he went down a pothole.
Oh, no.
He went down a pothole, did you not?
I did go down a pothole. Not only did I go down a pothole, I went down the same one twice.
Where I get out.
Once bitten.
No.
Yeah, so I'm driving back.
No one could be that stupid.
Well, yes, you know me well enough, Eamon.
Okay.
See, the thing is, you can't see them. You sort of look down,
And it's dark when you leave.
Well, it actually was. It was light, because the other one was after I finished work.
Oh,
so,
right. I'm
so
trying to
one
help
was,
you.
I know, I really appreciate that, Ellie. So one was after the football, I'm driving along, and it was late, and I had to get up the next morning, bang, straight into this pothole, huge bang, get out, and it's tyres going down. So then I couldn't drive the car the next day, have the pickup truck take it to the anyway, get it done. Thank goodness it's all done. The next day, as I finished work, I'm driving home, merrily.
No.
Yes.
So what?
Same pothole.
The very same.
The same pothole.
And there was no sense of bang. No sense of awareness. This is where this happened before.
No, but you couldn't see. I was just happily driving home, and then banged. I mean, is that a stupid thing? Yeah, it is.
Sorry.
It is.
Sorry.
Well, there are a lot of people probably will identify with you today on this as we lead up to National Big Hole Day.
Yes. I found finding myself in a big hole right now as I'm even talking to you.
But anyway, the good thing was both our teams won yesterday.
Yes.
In the FA Cup. I mean,
we scored 3. How many did you score?
Well, we got the vital penalty when it was incredible. A 10-man team we were for an hour.
It was a great game. And Ellie, you enjoyed the Spurs-Tamworth game, didn't you?
The Spurs-Tamworth game was painful, but you did it in the end, in extra time.
Okay.
And to celebrate. Well, I do think Tamworth should celebrate. They covered themselves in glory. Yeah. And who have you got today?
We have Tamworth's manager's going to join us. Going to join us live. So, you know, it'd be nice to have him on. I thought they were great. I mean, 5th tier, so many great stories. Yeah. These are all part-time footballers.
Wasn't there one of the players who'd just finished his shift at Zara?
Yeah, that's right. He was the one. Did you see where he was tying the net up before the game?
Yeah.
It was just like they got the... And he's tying the net because the net had fallen down.
You can't make
And it's like Spurs players are like, what? People have to do this themselves? But it was he tied the net and they played really well.
Yeah. Do you think Tottenham were a bit overawed by the ground, the supporters, the passion for it, the propensity of the fans?
I don't know. All I know is that...
You were rubbish.
Yeah. Was
Pretty
it?
bad.
OK.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
But on your potholes, I might have something for you.
Oh, really?
The government is going to expand AI to help spot potholes, so you might not get into trouble again.
Really?
Yeah, AI is the answer.
Well, the only thing that could do it is like, it's coming up now, it's in front of you now, avoid the pothole. That's the only thing that's going to help me.
Well, don't ask me how it's going to work, but I think somehow they'll map all the potholes in the country. So it might be the end of people falling down potholes.
Oh, I don't think
We can only hope.
Believe that when I say it.
Yeah.
Top story this morning, the Prime Minister desperately trying to change the narrative of the economy over AI in his hopes of unleashing untapped investment potential, whatever all that means.
Yes, the government is starting this week by launching an action plan that will use AI to improve growth as well as tackle our public services like the NHS and transport links.
So the Chancellor will be praying the turbocharges growth as the pressure mounts for Rachel Reeves to resign over market turmoil.
Well, that's as we're stuck with billions of pounds more debt thanks to last week's crisis. The Treasury demanding ministers act ruthlessly to cut public spending.
Let's speak to political commentator. We say hello, good morning and welcome to Theo Usherwood this morning on this one. Can't profess to understand too much about AI, but this is the start of something big, isn't it?
Well, look, Keir Starmer needs to try and change the narrative. Last week was not good. We saw what happened in terms of the rise in the cost of borrowing for Rachel Reeves. The Chancellor is under significant pressure now, as you were saying, to find savings when it comes to efficiency right across government departments, because the markets are looking at the Chancellor's budget from last October. They're looking at our growth prospects. And they're not liking what they're seeing, and that's why the cost of borrowing is going up, and that's why the markets don't, that's why it will have a knock-on effect in terms of the amount of money, but if we're spending all that money on interest, the amount of money that can be spent on public services like the NHS or anything, Ministry of Defence or whatever that might be. And so Keir Starmer is under pressure, and this has already been talked about over the weekend, possibly to even sack Rachel Reeves as the Chancellor, because one way of trying to restore faith is to say, actually, OK, the previous Chancellor wasn't very good. We've got somebody new in place who can take over and do the things and make the necessary decisions and can run the economy in a way that actually can restore the confidence of the markets.
Might we finally be seeing with this AI boost, this AI revolution we're talking about today, is this the detail for this plan for growth? Do you think this will work?
It's an important plank. I mean, it's worth something like £13 billion, £50 billion, I should say, 13,000 jobs. So it is a significant boost. But it doesn't come without controversies, particularly if you're looking at the NHS. What they want to do is they want to take as much data as they possibly can from the NHS and use it, anonymise that data, but use it in a way that the modelling, the AI modelling, can then work out when it comes to diagnostics, when it comes to the right treatment. And yes, it could replace significant amounts of man hours women hours when it comes to doctors on the front line, because you could have the AI making the decisions. But at the same time, that is our data, and the government's going to have to reassure us, I think, that actually it's not going to be misused, and there's not going to be a way for that data to somehow become personal data rather than anonymised data.
Why do we need to be told about this? Why are they blowing their horn so much on this today?
Well, because every week the government sets out its own agenda, right? This is what it wants to talk about. But every week this government seems to be blown off course by other events. Last week they were supposed to be speaking about the NHS, blown off course by Elon Musk, and then, of course, what happened in the markets. They have their grid within Number 10, which, of course, is a way of managing right across Whitehall departments. But if this government, and any government, in fact, cannot communicate what it is trying to do effectively because of outside forces, people talking about events, whatever, then that is problematic. They need to be able to set the narrative, and they haven't been able to do it. Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves haven't been able to do it recently. Whether they can do it this week remains to be seen, given the amount of pressure that the Chancellor is under, particularly when it comes to the economy and her management of the economy.
But if they get this off the ground, though, I mean, this could transform lives, couldn't it? In the sense that huge investment, I mean, outside of London as well, they're talking about these technological hubs in Oxfordshire and other parts of the country.
And it brings in private sector investment as well, because there's been a review by a tech entrepreneur who's now, he's made 50 recommendations. Government wants to take all of them on board, and it could bring in money from overseas foreign investment as well. So it could be a real game changer. But at the same time, AI doesn't come without significant risk, particularly in areas like healthcare.
What do you see as the big important areas? Where do you see AI scoring on behalf of all of us?
Health and education, potentially, and the way that, especially when it comes to better outcomes in the NHS. we've all been, you know the story of everybody goes to one doctor and they give you one opinion, you go to another doctor and they give you another opinion, and you're like, well, what do I do? If you can put all of the data in, and then they can go to an AI model and say, well, this is your outcome, or these are your chances. Wouldn't we all like to know exactly how long we have to live if we have a terminal diagnosis? And we've all heard of stories where people, you know, they go to see the doctor, they're given a significant diagnosis that's going to change their lives, but actually that doesn't turn out quite to be accurate, and they might make decisions that turn out to be the wrong decisions. And if you can use the very best intelligence, artificial intelligence, to make the best estimation of your outcome, then I think that would be a significant. But as I said, it will rely on huge amounts of data that already exist in the NHS being used by these AI models, and that comes with its own risks.
And all the while we're being told that the Treasury is carving out plans to ruthlessly cut back on public spending. Are we returning to austerity?
Keir Starmer was adamant,
but we're not.
The election, that we're not returning to austerity. He said there has to be another way, and that way was economic growth. But clearly, that hasn't happened. He's gone. Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer have gone for the, public sector pay rises of £10 billion. That's, of course, led, to a decision to increase taxes by £40 billion. Businesses are turning around and saying, how are we going to swallow £25 billion of national insurance contributions, which, by the way, you didn't advertise before the general election. To the contrary, you said you weren't going to increase national insurance contributions, both for employers and employees. And the problem is that without the economic growth, without the increased tax receipts, we are going to stagnate. We're going to end up with high interest rates, high inflation. People are going to feel, your listeners, your viewers, are going to feel like they don't have the money in their back pocket to go out and spend at the shops as they otherwise might want to. And of course, that becomes cyclical. And if they're not spending money, businesses then have to cut back, and we end up with
a very good morning to you too, Theo. That's
a gloom for me.
Gloomy start to the day. But anyway, those are Theo's opinions. That's his analysis of the situation. Your views, he's going to be back after 7 o'clock. If you've got a question, a counterpoint to put, if you have an agreement with Theo, do let us know. Get in touch this morning. You know what to do. The time now, 12 minutes past 6 o'clock.
And there are fears that the graves of our war dead may be disturbed as part of a plan to recycle cemeteries.
This pops up all the time. People think about this. And the thing about this is morally and religiously wrong. Absolutely wrong. And it amazes me about England. You wouldn't get the same talk in Ireland.
Oh, you'd never get it,
No, because you see, you'd be seen this as a sanctity situation. There would be religious connotations to this. But here, where most people don't have a religion, couldn't care less, so they're going to dig you up out of the ground, they're going to use your grave or throw someone else into this or whatever. This proposal would see existing graves across England and Wales reused just to save space.
Well, in response, a petition has been launched in Dewsbury. Our Yorkshire and Humber reporter Anna Riley has the story.
Honouring the fallen. More than 120 soldiers rest in war graves at Dewsbury Cemetery, but there's fears that their remains could be disturbed, along with those in other decades-old graves. The Law Commission proposed to reuse graves and open close cemeteries across England and Wales due to a shortage of burial space. The plans have been condemned by Christine Eamonn, whose family are buried here.
I was absolutely appalled at the thoughts that any grave that's 75 years or over, if this law gets passed, then they can dig that person up. I won't want to think that in 50 years' time, my daughter was going to get dug up and somebody else popped in it. There's 124 war heroes in Jubes Cemetery. They're all scattered about. Off they went, fighting for the country. How dare the Law Commission, how dare they even think about digging these soldiers up? This has got to be stopped. It's not fair, it's disrespectful.
Resident Paul Halloran supports Christine's petition against the reuse of closed graves.
It's abhorrent, in the respect that, these are people's family members, there's war graves in here, and just in the term alone, just using the term dig up, is horrendous.
Kirklees Council, who maintain Dewsbury Cemetery, have said the council is aware of the current consultation being run by the Law Commission around burial and cremation. There are no proposals for reuse of burial ground in Kirklees. The Law Commission is now analysing responses to the proposals following a public consultation. It said grave reuse is already permitted by law, but only in London local authority cemeteries, Church of England churchyards, and a handful of burial grounds which have obtained Acts of Parliament for the purpose. The Law Commission is consulting on provisional proposals which could enable other burial ground operators to obtain grave reuse powers if they complied with 2 levels of safeguards. A final report with recommendations will be made to the government later this year. Until then, Christine and Paul will keep campaigning. Anna Riley, GB News.
Now, good luck to Christine and Paul. They say no. I very distinctly say no, no, no on this. No respect whatsoever, because this means, Ellie, that your grandparents, for instance, or my grandparents, maybe more so than yours, they would be on that 80 years, 85 years. So they could just fill in my grandfather who fought in the First World War, my grandmother she's the only one of my grandparents I remember, and she died in 1964. But I would have no contact with her before. Now, you see, it's like my parents. I go to my parents' grave every time I'm back in Belfast, and I sit and I talk to my parents by the graveside, and I am happy to pray there, I'm happy to reflect there. Why should that be taken away from me? I think it just basically, there's so many things in this country, you know, just makes me sick about how outraged people are by certain religious things. Oh, you can't say that about that religion. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. But when it comes to Christianity and graves, you can do what the heck you want. Nobody cares. Nobody seems to care. And that's your fault. It's no one else's fault by making it happen. Now, do you agree with all of this? What do you think? So I've made my position quite clear. Do you have a view on
I think it's really sad. I think if you are looking, which we have in our family, gone back through the family tree and you go to look for these graves, and they could be 100 years, 150 years old. I mean, under that suggestion, that grave would no longer be there. It would be dug up, it would be reused. Somebody else would be lying where your family member, your ancestor, once lay. That makes me very uneasy. I'm sure it makes lots of you feel uneasy as well. But legally, at the moment, graves cannot be sold until after 100 years has passed. But then you've got a shortage of graves in this country. So more graveyards need to be built.
Why have you shortage of graves?
Shortage. That's what this is all about.
This country, look, I tell you,
no shortage of land.
Fly over this country. Yeah. There's nothing but greenness and rocks and goodness knows what. There is land. It's what they choose to use it for is the thing. And there's certain things that should be negotiable. Yeah. That's just my view on it.
Maybe we need more graveyards, let us know what you think.
Now, we've got another poll, have we not, today as well. What are we asking there?
We're asking about Lisa Nandy, the Culture Secretary, and we're saying, do you agree with her? Should the TV licence be scrapped and replaced with a new tax instead?
What a lot of old rot as well. So wait a minute, a tax is a tax. Whether we're paying for a licence fee, they're going to get it back in some other way through your taxation. Why bother changing it? Why bother? Just leave it alone. That's another waste of money.
Well, let us know what you think. We'll bring you the live results throughout the day, so make sure you stay tuned. You can scan the QR code on your screens now, or you can head to the website gbnews.com/poll. As always, the final results will be announced in Martin Daubney's show.
Yes, the TV licence fee is so unfair. What we're going to do is we're going to get rid of it, and we're going to charge you in your tax
dress it up
for it as
way.
well. What the heck? Why bother? Oh, I despair. Let's see if the weather makes us despair as well. Good morning, Jonathan.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there. Good morning to you. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. We start off this week with contrasts across the UK. High pressure is in charge in the southeast, keeping things fairly fine and settled, if rather cloudy. But low pressure in the northwest has already brought a frontal system in, so we're seeing outbreaks of rain for Scotland and Northern Ireland today, heavy in places. It will also be very gusty for these two countries with gales around coastal areas at times. The rain will push its way into the far north of England later on this afternoon, and that will allow for some slightly clearer, brighter spells to develop in the far north of Scotland. A few showers still lingering around, but it will be noticeably mild across northern areas today. Widely double-digit figures across both Scotland and Northern Ireland. This does mean we're going to see a rapid thaw of the snow that's been falling over the last week, so some local surface water issues are possible where this melts on the roads. The rain will push its way into the northwest of Wales into the evening period, but the rest of England and Wales managing to stay dry today. But you'll see it is a bit cooler here, 5 to 7 degrees Celsius as your top temperatures. And that cool theme across more central southern areas will continue into the forthcoming night. There could be a very localised patchy frost in places, some fog patches lingering around as well. A milder night to come in the north and west, still holding up in double digits in places. The band of rain then will stall its way across more central areas on Tuesday, but it has also weakened significantly. So it's mainly going to be light and drizzly stuff over some western hills of Wales, for parts of the Pennines and the Lake District as well. Many of us will manage to stay dry, but it is going to be a generally cloudy day. The best of some sunshine probably across the far south coast of England, but also eastern areas of Scotland. The north to south contrast in temperatures will continue, though, ranging between 8 and 11 degrees Celsius. And that contrast really will persist right throughout the forthcoming week. It's going to be northern areas that are milder, but also generally windier with a greater chance of some rain.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
And on the subject of news, let's see what else is coming into the newsroom on this Monday morning. At least 24 people have been killed and thousands evacuated as the fires rage on in California. Fierce winds are forecast to continue for the coming days, potentially further fueling the fires. The largest inferno is currently just slightly contained at 13%.
The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, is facing fresh calls to commit to pulling out of the ECHR if her party returns to power. Steve Barclay, who held 5 cabinet positions throughout the Conservatives' last run in government, has taken to X to express his view that we cannot secure our borders whilst remaining part of the pact.
The Duchess of Sussex's new Netflix series has been delayed following the devastating fires in Los Angeles. Meghan Markle has said she's thankful to Netflix for supporting the decision. With love, Meghan will now be released on March the 4th. Can't wait.
That was definitely the right decision, wasn't it? Putting that back till March. Meghan in her big mansion in Los Angeles, inviting all of her friends, cooking dinner, celebrating. I mean, it would have been a bad look.
Yeah, but it's not what she's worried about. Is she just worried that everybody's too busy to worry about what she's doing, that there would be no audience for it?
Oh, well, there's that as well. But I do think it would look bad from a PR perspective, her celebrating in this lovely Los Angeles mansion.
Mm-hmm.
Might not even be standing now, don't you?
Her villa was under threat at one stage, and I think it's bypassed now, the fire there.
Yeah, Montecito was under threat, wasn't it? And that was just after they'd opened their doors, saying to all their friends, come in and seek refuge. That didn't last very long, because then they were under threat as well.
Got Paul, he's got the sport, including the FA Cup ties yesterday. A glorious day in the Cup. Back with him right after this.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Mr. Motivator, he joins us now. Mr. Motivator, a very happy new year to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. There you are, bright and early. So how are things? How can we all kick ourselves into shape?
By the end of January, most people have thrown their New Year's resolution out the window. I think what's important is that we make a change for life, and we set ourselves small goals, and as we achieve those goals, then we reward ourselves. And in other words, you want to run 10K, you don't immediately get up and go run 10K, do you? You run between 2 lampposts and walk between 20. If you're not into running, don't choose running. If you're into dancing, that's great. If you're into any kind of movement, that is the way to keep yourself active, healthy, and also maintain your independence.
So, Derek, is the point that you keep it manageable and small enough that it's achievable?
Why don't we just find 4 exercises that you do for 1 minute each exercise, and you do that 4 times a day? Achievable, isn't it? That's only 4 minutes of exercise. And I guarantee at the end of the day, you'd have done 12 minutes, which is like your daily dozen. So there's your goal. I want to do a daily dozen of exercise lasting a minute each, right? And the first thing you could be doing is getting up from your chair, right? The moment you stand up, you incorporate so many muscles in your legs, right, that you're going to feel good, yes? So,
right, go on then. Get up off your chair, Adam. Show me how it's done.
Easy, come on.
Easy, yeah. Look at that.
No hand. The next thing I want you to do is to reach up real high. And if you bring it down, up
I'll
and
do
down.
that one.
Yeah.
For a minute, palms facing.
Oh, for a minute?
You're not flying a minute. That's better.
There we go.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Thank you, Britain.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for subscribing.
Thank you for your support.
It's you that make us the People's Channel.
As we reflect on our journey so far, we're filled with immense gratitude.
You mean the world to us. We couldn't have reached this point without you.
As a very special thank you, we are giving you the chance to win one of 50 GB News thank you boxes. They're worth £50 each.
For full terms and conditions, and to enter, just go to gbnews.com/thank you. What a cup day it was, especially yesterday. Here's Paul to reflect all of that.
I'm going to reflect. Third round of the FA. You know what? It just shows that the FA Cup's not dead, doesn't it? I thought it was a great day of football yesterday.
It's my favourite competition.
Yeah,
and
me too.
I'm fed up of listening to the BBC apologising for it every, here it is and it's only the cup and all that sort of thing. It's still the best competition there is.
Well, let's start with your lot, shall we?
Yeah, which was an amazing, absolutely amazing result. Manchester United, the holders, remember?
Of course.
Away at Arsenal.
They've won it more times than anybody else.
Yeah, well, I mean, they won it more. What are we second most?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
14 Arsenal have won it, 14 times. Manchester United won it a little less.
Well,
but you're the holders. I'm not knocking, I'm saying you're the holders, but it shows what a big tie it was.
Well, let's put this in context. Yesterday you had a 10-man Manchester United, a card-happy referee, and you had 10 men for an hour against Arsenal, who are sitting, second in the league?
Absolutely,
Premier League. And,
it was very good.
It was very, very good. I mean, I knew that if we had have held on to penalties, we had a chance because it was all going to be equal again.
Sure.
But that was tough going.
I just thought Manchester United did really well. I think the penalty that was given to Arsenal was completely unfair. Harry Maguire was very unhappy about it.
Yeah.
And then Martin Odegaard missed the penalty. Or actually, I say that. I mean, it was a great save, wasn't it, really? Yeah. It was a fantastic save. And then we went on to actually penalty shootout at the end, and Manchester United
After extra time. Kai Havertz. I mean, the thing is, we're going to get onto this. There's no replays. This is why this happened, which probably affects Tamworth more than it affects the other two. That was the point I was going to make, and I think that's what's wrong, and that's the greed of football. You look at the difference. Tamworth, after 90 minutes, being able to go... to, what do you call it now?
The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium,
It's Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
That's it,
what a bonus that would have been for them.
It probably would have earned them about £1 million.
Oh.
But this is the thing. The FA decided in their wisdom that it's too many games, can't do replays anymore. I just think it's unfair for the smaller sides. I really do. I mean, in a situation between Arsenal and Manchester United, probably both clubs would have been happy to play to a conclusion there instead of having a replay. But then you've got the smaller clubs. That's the ones that it affects. But anyway, Mikel Arteta, how do you think he reacted to it? Do you think he thought that Arsenal were the better side, or do you think he'd say that Manchester United deserved to win?
I don't think he'd say...
What do you think?
No, I don't. I think he's a moaning, groaning... I couldn't have been happier that he was beaten.
Yes. Well, Captain Scarlet managed to beat Captain Black last night. Let's listen to hear what Mikel Arteta said.
The dominance, the superiority in relation to your opposition, and everything that we did to try to win the game. And that's it, that we didn't deserve We didn't get what we deserved, clearly. I cannot be prouder of my players, on the team, individual, collectively, what they produce.
You know what? They couldn't score. End of story.
And they couldn't score against 10 men.
Exactly.
You know, so he can moan away all he wants, but he's he really is miserable. He really is.
I know. And it's, we were the best team, we were this. It's like, when you lost, a little gracious.
Yeah.
A little more gracious. Well, anyway.
And what's more, they're going to win nothing this year.
Well.
What?
You don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
What are they still in for?
Well, the Premier League is still a possibility.
Oh, no chance. Liverpool win that.
And also, they're 2 goals down against Newcastle. Could come back against Newcastle. And listen,
no chance.
Listen to me. Being friendly towards Arsenal. What is going on?
You're defending Arsenal over there,
I know. Tamworth 0, Tottenham Hotspur 3.
No, that sounds a bad scoreline, but I have to say, applause to what are they, fifth tier?
Fifth tier, yeah, part-time footballers. I mean, I'm looking at some of most of them have other jobs, and so they train twice a week. There's a builder, a bricklayer, a shop assistant, a lecturer, a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker. But anyway, they're all in there. It was hard to tell though when you look at the first 90 minutes who were the Premier League side. I'm sorry, but it was true, and who were the part-timers because they did a great job. I thought Spurs were poor, but I thought Tamworth did terrifically.
They should be so proud of themselves as well. They held that up for 90 minutes.
Absolutely. And you see, the guy called Tommy Tonks. You know about Tommy Tonks?
Yeah.
It sounds like a kid's TV show, doesn't it? But Tonks. He's the one with the longest throw, 40 yards. And so it's more advantageous that they get a throw than it would be get a free kick. This guy hurls the ball into the box. I mean, he's a bit of a hard nut as well. But I just thought they were really good and... they deserved something out of it. Yeah. And if it had been replays, they got to 90 minutes, they would have got their replay at Spurs, and that would have earned them a lot more money. So,
Paul, give us a few birthdays today, just to round up.
Oh, by the way, Andy Peaks, the manager of Tamworth, will be with us.
Oh, right, excellent.
Be with us,
great.
Live on the show. Right, OK, a few birthdays. Birthdays this morning. We usually do these a little later, so who's the first one? Oh, look, we've actually got...
Max Whitlock.
That's Max Whitlock, or Mix Whitlock. There he is. There he is. There's Mix with one of his 3 gold medals, and he's a pommel horse specialist, a bit like you, Eamonn, a pommel horse specialist. So how old is Max Whitlock today? Just retired.
30.
Good. 34.
35.
32.
No, I was going to say 32. I didn't know.
Well done.
Go with your first answer.
I need to go with my gut.
Go with your gut. Right, next one. Some big sporting birthdays. That's Bozzy there. Mark Bosnich, former Manchester United goalkeeper, and he was at Chelsea as well.
Yeah.
Big star in Australia now, presents the football over there. Lovely fella, Mark Bosnich. How old is he today?
I would say 53.
I'd say 52.
53 is the right answer. Very good work, Eamonn.
Spot on.
I'll tell you what, since you're on the weakest link, look at you now. It's unbelievable, right? Next one, we've got 2 more to go. One more. Oh, look at that. I mean, he's actually older Stephen Hendry. We remember Stephen Hendry, 7-time world snooker champion. But that was back in, 80s, 90s?
Yeah.
So how old is he today? What do you reckon, Eamonn? I'm going to let you go first on this one. Stephen Hendry. Lovely teeth, though. Is he? A beautiful teeth.
I'd say he's mid-50s.
Had a bit of help there,
I'd say,
you think so?
I'd say he's mid-50s.
OK.
50.
We can't have mid-50s.
Yeah, come on.
What, 54?
54. OK, fine.
57.
56. 56. One more for you.
I'm close today.
One more for you. Current footballer, Luis Diaz.
Yeah.
Of Liverpool. So we know the ballpark that he's going to be in. He's playing now.
Yeah.
How old is Luis Diaz?
28.
28.
27.
Eamonn, you've played a blinder. 2-0. Luis Diaz, 28 today.
Good.
Eamonn, very good.
Very good today.
Thank you.
You're
playing a blinder today.
You are playing a blinder. Honestly. It's unbelievable. It's Manchester United penalty shootout.
But, you know, that game could change our season. The Liverpool result, I know we lost at Spurs in the League Cup, and then, you know, to beat that lot yesterday. We're back.
We're back.
Yeah, I think you...
We're back.
Yeah.
Thank you very much
I
indeed.
think the phrase, don't count your chickens, son, springs to mind.
But do count the money in the Great British Giveaway, 50 grand, and it could be yours. Have a go.
Don't miss your chance
He's making the news. That's what we're doing next, and Biggins will be in the building, so look forward to saying hello, good morning to him. See you after this.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M61 in Greater Manchester, 2 lanes are closed southbound because of an oil spill between junctions 4 and 3 from Farnworth to the Kersley Spur. On the M6 in Cheshire, there's a lane closed southbound where a vehicle caught fire between junctions 21 and 20. It's the M56 near Warrington. On the M6 in the West Midlands, there's a lane closed southbound where there's a lorry with a puncture between junctions 9 and 8 towards the M5 near Birmingham, causing queues. In Warwickshire, the A46 is closed each way along Ulster Road in Stratford-upon-Avon after an accident. In Hertfordshire, the A41 is closed northbound at Tring for emergency repairs to damage caused by an accident yesterday morning, and the M20 in Kent is closed eastbound from junction 8 at Leeds Castle Maidstone to 9 at Ashford after a lorry jackknifed. Long delays towards there and as you divert. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
We were talking earlier about the issue of Siri listening to you. Well, it's not just your own conversations being sort of harvested for data, but it's a problem with AI. So what seems to have happened yesterday is that Apple issued a alert saying that Luke Littler had won the darts before he had. I mean, imagine what would, if he then gone on to lose, how that would have looked. I mean, obviously, because he went on to win, at least they got the story right, but before it had happened. So what it seems to happen is that the AI farms existing stories, and what it has done, that's the alert. We can see the alert there now, and it also claiming that Brazilian tennis player Rafael Nadal had come out as gay when actually a different Brazilian tennis player was actually mentioned in the original story. So what it does is you see that's branded as BBC Sport. What the Apple AI system does is it farms alerts that it thinks people are getting from the source and then summarises them into
one. That was going to be my question.
Into one alert.
It looks to me like you would assume, OK, the BBC are reporting this.
Absolutely. So the BBC
News might be saying something else.
So it could happen to any news organisation.
This has highlighted a massive issue. I mean, having editorial judgment and quality control, because if this is going on, it's just contributing to the flow of misinformation. Yes. And we know that this is a problem on social media, people reporting false things. But if it seems to come from trusted news sources, that is a massive issue in credibility. I mean, if you had something like Reuters, who's a big news provider, doing this, you could hold people accountable, you could make changes, but when it's the AI doing it, I mean, what do? You're going to have to reprogram it in some way.
And if you just lost control, if you're a news source, you've lost control of what goes out, because it basically farms it, puts your logo on it and sends it out, even when it's nonsense.
GB News, the People's Channel.
And before we talk about them, let's see what the newspaper front pages are saying. Here are the headlines.
The Guardian leads on Labour's plans to integrate AI into our public services, with a new action plan being launched today.
That's a big talking point. Cabinet are told to be ruthless with public spending cuts, according to the Telegraph. And Emma Raducanu there, all she ever has to do is to turn up at a tournament, which she'll not win. And there she is, front page of the Daily. She won't win it.
I feel like you're being mean to her.
But we're OK. Right, tell me, outside that American US
Open, she smashed it. I think she
smashed it. She had a very lucky run
She will. She's got a long career ahead of her. She's only, what is she?
What's she want to bet?
£10.
What? £100. Absolutely.
I've got wedding to save for.
Absolutely no chance.
All right.
When is your wedding? When is
July.
your wedding? July. There's plenty of time to save.
OK.
Daily Mail are saying 500,000 people are having to wait up to 12 hours in A&E last year.
The Times quotes ex-MI6 chief warning Labour against placing power in the hands of Beijing. That's following the Chancellor's trip to China.
Finally, former Home Secretary James Cleverly accuses Labour of a tax assault on millions of people. Britain under tax assault from inept Labour now.
Well, joining us to go through the papers this morning is political commentator Theo Usherwood and former editor of the Daily Star, Dawn Lisa. Morning, you two.
No offence to you, Theo, but you're supposed to be Christopher Biggins.
I'll do my best.
But we appreciate you stepping in.
Yes,
you have to do it big in style, fresh from Panto. Come on, Theo, I know you can do it.
Bring the theatrics. Dawn, let's have a look at this huge expansion of AI in the public sector.
Yeah.
Gonna fix our potholes, apparently.
Well, yeah, no one explains quite how. It's interesting today because every single paper has got a different story on page one, which just goes to show what kind of news day it actually is. The Guardian have gone on this massive AI launch by the government, which are going to fix everything from potholes to our healthcare service. I think Theo was mentioning this earlier on as well. I think it's a bit of a dead cat strategy. It's like, look over there rather than the mess we're creating with the economy. Labour plan to unleash AI, mainlining it into the veins of the nation. Yeah, fine. It's all very controversial, though, because one of the things they are saying it might do is unlock public data, which is including your data that is kept by the NHS.
Yeah.
Now, you have to deliberately sign a form saying you don't want your your data made public when you are when you join the NHS. So I'm a bit wary about that one. And it's, you know, they're saying it could save £470 billion or lead to economic growth of £470 billion, but there's no how much is this going to cost, how is it going to happen, and you know, one of the most recent examples we had of AI going horribly wrong was the post office scandal, Ellie.
Yeah.
Where an over-reliance on the post office AI system led to all sorts of heartache and people taking their own lives. So I'm very dubious about this. The devil is always in the detail.
Well, Dawn, I'll tell you what, it's not going away. This is the future, everything from predicting where potholes are to matching the right type of sperm with eggs within women.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that is actually the other story in the Mail today is what they're using is rather than using doctors to sort of analyse it in person, they're using AI to see what the strongest egg and the strongest sperms are. And there is a lady now that's pregnant after having IVF using AI.
So I think, Theo, there are uses for it that none of us here would even have thought about. I mean, I'm very worried about it, but there's going to be lots of areas where it's going to be incredible, I would have thought.
Yeah, it can be absolutely revolutionary. And I think what, in fairness to somebody like George Osborne and David Cameron, what they recognised quite early in the coalition years was actually, in order to try and get economic growth, they had to promote emerging industries. AI is an emerging industry, and this is a lesson that, you know, whether you do it with tax breaks or you do it with incentives, trying to bring in the very best from around the world and make us a world leader, particularly in areas like East London, where actually you've got the potential, you've got the City of London next door. You can then bring in the investment from from investment banks or whatever, venture capitalists in the city, over into the tech industry and grow an industry so that we can be better than the French, better than the Spanish, be better than anybody else in Europe at doing this. And I think that's the hope from Keir Starmer's point of view. But Dawn is right. It will rely, you know, particularly if you want AI to do all of the things that it's been talked about doing, whether it's diagnostics or whatever. It relies on huge amounts of data. It collates that data, and then the modelling figures out, you know, it runs how you make decisions off the back of that data. And that's our data.
Yeah, but here's something that we were talking about earlier that's made an appearance today, which is that young people, generation, whatever they are now, can't change light bulbs and things.
I love this.
Because all these things are done for them. And that's not going to get any better with AI, would it?
No, it's not. It's not going to help you. I mean, one of the reasons our Gen Z can't change a light bulb is because they're scared of stepladders.
Stop.
I'm not making it up. It's in the papers. It must be true. And they can't put air in their tyres. They literally can't do anything because they are scared they're probably going to kill themselves by changing a light bulb. Oh, it might be hot as well with other reason.
Right.
And what's going on here, Theo? I mean, it's like...
I think these... I'm not necessarily...
Not implying you're Gen Z, by the way, obviously.
No, I'm a little bit older than Gen Z. I think it's actually, it comes down to what your parents teach you. My dad, bless his cotton socks, still alive, and I love him to bits, but he wasn't very good at this practical stuff.
Oh, yeah, good point.
He never taught me to change a light bulb. He never taught me to rewire a plug. And I had to learn it for myself later in life. When I first learned to drive, I was petrified of going to the garage and trying to figure out how to fill up the tyres with air. And it can be slightly it can be slightly daunting if you've never done these things before, and perhaps we're not very good. The older generations aren't very good at teaching,
Passing on those
passing on those really
but the
basic
point, Theo, is you
skills.
went and taught yourself. You actually,
Yes.
you're actually brave enough to get on a stepladder and change a light bulb.
It depends, it depends on a lot of things. I mean, I have 4 other brothers and they can do everything. They can fit carpets and hang wallpaper and do everything. And my father would have been exactly the same, all except one of his sons. Me. Now, that was because from 18 years of age, I suppose, I was on television and I didn't get involved in these things. So I'm inept on a lot of
You can change a light bulb.
Yes.
You can hang a picture.
I can wire a
I
plug.
mean, we're not, wire a plug.
See, I don't think many people could do that now, wire a plug. You're saying that like you're
YouTube.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
I do. That's
everything's
what
on YouTube.
I just go on YouTube. If I don't know how to do something, I go on YouTube. Sometimes my wife intervenes though, and she says, actually, we had some nice pictures that we want to put up, and actually, let's just get somebody in because I don't trust you.
Didn't
It'll just be
trust you.
wonky.
Yeah. I was always of the opinion, you do what you do, I'll do what I do. I'll earn money to pay you to do what you do, whatever that is. But it's very...
But this is the other point, Eamonn Holmes, because Gen Z, which is 18 to 27-year-olds, are paying up to £1,300 a year for others to do these basic things.
Oh, definitely.
Now, you can afford it, right? OK, but if you're one of that generation saying, I can't get on the housing ladder, etc., etc., you're paying £1,300 for people to come and change a light bulb.
Yeah. No, but it's not going to get any better with AI. That's the point that was...
Dawn, Theo, we'll be right back with you in a few minutes' time. But if you're in search of some winter sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're looking for some winter sunshine across the Mediterranean at the moment, then western areas are your best bet. High pressure here is bringing relatively fine conditions across Iberia into parts of France as well. But we have the remnants of Storm Felix still lingering around for parts of Italy, Greece and Turkey. This is bringing some heavy showers, which could fall even as snow across inland areas. Generally, though, the showers are expected to ease as we head through the forthcoming week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Figures released by the National Child Measurement Programme in 2024 found that almost 1 in 10 children was obese in the first year of school. Children living in deprived areas are twice as likely to be overweight as those in more affluent parts. Organisations like the Prepped Foundation are educating youngsters about healthy eating by giving them the skills to create balanced meals. TV chef James Golding has joined the foundation as the head of food education, and he joins me now to talk about the work. James, lovely to see you here.
Good to see you too. So Prepped used to be Table Talk Foundation, and it's now obviously Prep for Life, Prep for Knowledge. It's basically a charity to encourage kids to have a better understanding of food, but at the same time enjoy cooking and hopefully make better food choices in their life, as well as perhaps share the information we give them with their families.
Do you see them developing an understanding of the difference between healthy and unhealthy food?
Yes, I think that kids tend to sort of be taught a lot of this in school, but being able to actually ask questions to a chef and be able to cook with produce which they know is one, that is going to be tasty because they've tasted it, but two, open their eyes to food that they may not have tried before. I think that I think a lot of kids say they don't want to try stuff because they don't like the way it looks, but the way that we produce our sessions, we encourage the kids to try, and I think it really does open their eyes. It's very easy, I think, currently to be able to make easier choices, say fast food choices or that type of thing, and it's obviously giving people the ability to make the right choices, but also the skills to be able to do it. So I think it's something that needs to be addressed and something that really needs to be pushed, and that's what we're doing as a charity.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
If you want your news to be straight talking... This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Theo, do you care where you are buried and what, and if you would be buried? I mean, for instance, I would be so...
Morning, everyone.
I am so anti-cremation.
Right.
It wouldn't be for me. And yet everybody I know is just like, oh, burn me, burn me, burn me. And they don't care. They don't think of an afterlife or anything else.
Just to be scattered somewhere, isn't that quite...
That's what you would quite like. You wouldn't object.
I wouldn't object to that. If somebody said there was a shortage of space and, it's easier, cheaper just to have your ashes scattered somewhere, I'd be okay with that.
Well,
You don't like the idea of people coming weeping and wailing at a basilica or something in your honour?
Well, that's what I say. That's the point, though, isn't it? If people want to go and sit by someone's grave, a loved one's grave, and sort of like, just feel like they're talking to them. If you've got your ashes scattered somewhere, it's like, well, especially if you have them at sea. When I was climbing once, we got to the top of this mountain, put my hand over the top, and there was this pile of dust on there, and it's like... And what's that? And it was someone's ashes on the top of the mountain. It's like they obviously love that place, and that's where they want their ashes to come. But it wasn't that easy for their loved ones to get up there and see them. Believe me, it was a hell of a climb. And it's like I ended up with lots of dead person on my hand.
So what do you think about this whole business that apparently, according to certain local authorities, they haven't got enough land to bury people on?
It's a 200-year limit, isn't it? I think they're going for when after 200.
85.
85. Yeah, right. Okay. I understand why they're doing it, but I also understand the heartache it can cause. I mean, my uncle, my mum's brother, was buried in a pauper's grave. And you have no rights over a pauper's grave whatsoever. It's only because my mum had been so keeping up on where her brother was buried that she knew where it was. And she went to the cemetery one day and they just bulldozed over the whole area. I mean, literally just bulldozed.
Not right.
So and she was devastated. I mean, she was genuinely devastated and started a campaign and to find out where her brother's remains had gone, basically, and we got there in the end. But she was devastated, so I understand that it is heartbreaking for people if you suddenly... Well, hold on a minute. I want to go and pay. I heard you say earlier, pay respects to my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and where are they? Yeah. And if you're researching your family history and you think, oh right, they were buried.
You want to go find those graves.
Buried in plot A44 or wherever, and it's like, oh right, okay, well there's nothing there now.
Yeah. And especially for our war dead, I mean, you would think they would be protected.
Oh yeah, sorry. Just on my own personal opinion, putting that to one side, these graves need to be protected. I do have a real issue with that, and I think that's not great.
Well, look, we'll bury you two for this hour. Back in 45 minutes. Here's your weather.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there. Very good morning to you. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. We start off this week with contrasts across the UK. High pressure is in charge in the southeast, keeping things fairly fine and settled, if rather cloudy. But low pressure in the northwest has already brought a frontal system in, so we're seeing outbreaks of rain for Scotland and Northern Ireland today, heavy in places. It will also be very gusty for these two countries, with gales around coastal areas at times. The rain will push its way into the far north of England later on this afternoon. That will allow for some slightly clearer, brighter spells to develop in the far north of Scotland. A few showers still lingering around. but it will be noticeably mild across northern areas today. Widely double-digit figures across both Scotland and Northern Ireland. This does mean we're going to see a rapid thaw of the snow that's been falling over the last week, so some local surface water issues are possible where this melts on the roads. The rain will push its way into the northwest of Wales into the evening period, but the rest of England and Wales managing to stay dry today. But you'll see it is a bit cooler here, 5 to 7 degrees Celsius as your top temperatures. And that cool theme across more central southern areas will continue into the forthcoming night. There could be a very localised patchy frost in places, some fog patches lingering around as well. A milder night to come in the north and west, still holding up in double digits in places. The band of rain then will stall its way across more central areas on Tuesday, but it has also weakened significantly. So it's mainly going to be light and drizzly stuff over some western hills of Wales, for parts of the Pennines and the Lake District as well. Many of us will manage to stay dry, but it is going to be a generally cloudy day. The best of some sunshine probably across the far south coast of England, but also eastern areas of Scotland. The north to south contrast in temperatures will continue, though, ranging between 8 and 11 degrees Celsius. And that contrast really will persist right throughout the forthcoming week. It's going to be northern areas that are milder, but also generally windier with a greater chance of some rain.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Glasgow, the A8 is closed eastbound along Paisley Road from Springfield Quay to Morrison Street, causing delays. On the M61 in Greater Manchester, 2 lanes are closed southbound. There's an oil spill between junctions 4 and 3 from Farnworth to the Kersby Spur, causing queues. On the M6 in the West Midlands, there's a lane closed southbound where there's a lorry with a puncture between junctions 9 and 8 towards the M5 near Birmingham, causing roughly 3 miles of queues. Train services between Birmingham New Street and Leamington Spa are diverting via Solihull because of a points failure at Leamington. Buses replacing trains between Leamington and Coventry. In Warwickshire, the A46 Ulster Road at Stratford-upon-Avon is blocked by an accident. In Northamptonshire, the A45 is blocked each way by an accident west of Northampton, causing delays, and the M20 in Kent is closed eastbound from junction 8 at Leeds Castle Maidstone to 9 at Ashford after a lorry jackknife causing long delays.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Don't be
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is the nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning. The Treasury plots to ruthlessly cut away at public spending after the markets rejected the Chancellor's taxing budget.
Is Labour on track to become the new party of austerity?
That's as the Prime Minister shrugs off criticisms and promises an AI revolution in a bid to get Britain booming.
A grooming gang's whistleblower makes shocking new claims that the first inquiry was a complete cover-up. Talking about that shortly.
Plans to reuse old graves, including those of our war dead, are branded utterly disgraceful. GB News investigates whether a counter-petition could challenge these new burial laws.
Under 30s are admitting to hiring people to do what some might consider the most simple of tasks, like changing a light bulb. We're debating whether the young have had it too easy and is it time to toughen up.
In the sport this morning, the FA Cup is still the greatest cup competition as Tamworth nearly beat Spurs and little Manchester United see off Arsenal on penalties. The draw for the fourth round has been made, including Plymouth at home to Liverpool and Exeter against Nottingham Forest. And in the Australian Open, British number one, Jack Draper, currently playing Argentinian Mariano Navone, and it stands at 1-all.
There's a north to south contrast in temperatures this week, but perhaps not in the way you'd normally think of it. I'll have the full weather details later on.
Hello there, a very good morning to you on this Monday morning. I'm Eamonn Holmes, as I was on Sunday night, just the same person. And anyway.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast with Eamonn and Ellie.
Debbie says, if you can't change a light bulb, then you really are dim.
Very good, Debbie.
Yes. Now, graves, a lot of people talking about graves. War graves to be dug up. I've never heard anything as preposterous in my entire life. Graves are sacramental, hallowed ground. The government is a disgrace, so they now want to desecrate our graves. Graham says to discuss interfering with any grave is wrong, but this thought that it's our war heroes is totally unacceptable. Leave all graves alone.
Tony says running out of land for burials is called cremation. Get on with it and then scatter the ashes in your garden. It will save a fortune, he says.
The last thing I would want is to be cremated. Did you ever see that film, Vincent Price, and he woke up in the coffin?
Is that what you're scared of?
And he woke up with the coffin. Was it Edgar Allan Poe? Fall of the House of Usher, I think it was, right? And so we woke up in the coffin, and he had to start scraping at the lid of the coffin.
Oh.
And he was there alive.
I think I'd rather, if it was going to happen, though, if you're in, surely it'd be better to be cremated and go like that than actually under the ground when no one can hear you.
Or burning at the crematorium.
I'd rather
want that.
I'd rather that than just like...
Jack says we are short of graves because, listen to this, because strangely, no public authority is under a legal obligation to provide graves or cemeteries. Many cemeteries are provided privately. It has long since been accepted that going forward, cremation will become essential rather than a choice.
Yeah, I have heard that. For younger generations, you won't even get an option.
But I remember, when I was young, to be cremated was a sin.
Yes.
And then they changed that whole idea, and then they decided, oh, well, it's not really that much of a sin because we need this ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing how that could change.
Yes.
Anyway.
What do you want? Would you happy to be cremated?
You know what? Honestly, if I'm dead, I'm dead. You can do whatever you like with me. I honestly do feel, I really do feel that way. I don't, whether it be a religious thing or something, I don't know, but I just I really don't care.
On the last day, St. Gabriel has his horn, right? And St. Gabriel comes down to earth with his massive big horn, and he blows the horn, and then we all arise from the dead.
Oh, do we?
Unless you're cremated. You're not going anywhere, are you?
Oh, no, you want to be ready for the horn.
Yeah, OK. I've always been ready for that. So there's any problem there. So it's actually, it really doesn't worry me in the slightest.
I didn't know about that.
I didn't mean it to come out the way.
Well, you don't know about the last day?
No, I don't know about the last day.
And you know about St. Gabriel and his horn?
I didn't know about St. Gabriel and his horn.
What sort of education have you had?
I know. But anyway, I would like
I didn't know about the horn either.
Right. Well, you're all heathens then.
Well, clearly.
As a result, yeah.
I'd like to be buried, though, because I like the idea of a relative having somewhere to mourn and weep and cry.
So you're like Eamonn, because you want everybody to weep forever, don't you?
No, I don't. I'd like just to be there and then about 40 beautiful women in black veils there who would just underneath, like you'll be there and you'll be putting a tissue to your eye under your veil. Yeah. Isabel Webster will be there. She'll be weeping more than most of them, they'll all be there. And then they'll all say, how did he know all those women? Why are they all weeping for him?
Yeah.
And that'll have to remain a mystery.
And just leave it there.
Just leave it there. Let's leave it there.
And then I pull my veil back and go, no!
And you'll be there in a week.
Yes.
You manifest like Satan. There we go. Right, OK, let's talk about the news. What have we got leading today?
Well, in a bid to boost growth, the Treasury is ordering ministers to be ruthless in cutting public spending as the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, comes under increasing pressure.
OK, it's been a tumultuous time for the Chancellor. Financial markets turned against her, leading to borrowing costs reaching a 25-year high.
And today, in a bid to change the narrative, the Prime Minister is today to announce an artificial intelligence action plan seeking to use the technology to inspire investment.
Political commentator Theo Usherwood joins us now in the studio to give us his take on all of this. More financial pressures.
Yes, much more. I think the big story, look, putting aside what the government's doing, the big story is Rachel Reeves and the amount of pressure that she is under as the Chancellor. Her big gamble was that budget, putting up taxes by £40 billion, and ultimately the markets do not like it. And as a result of that, we've seen the pound slide against the dollar and other currencies. We've seen borrowing costs for the government soar. Of that £40 billion now, of every £4 that it raises, an extra £1 is going to be spent servicing our national debt. That's money that isn't going to schools. That's money that isn't going to the NHS. It's just paying the interest on our national debt because the markets have looked at Reeves's budget and said, no, thank you. And she's got options, and the reason she's talking about efficiency savings is that is one of the options to cut public spending. She could go back and try and put up taxes again, but that's likely to have the same effect because the markets want to see economic growth. How do you get economic growth if taxes are sky high? Why would anybody want to invest? And the other option open to Keir Starmer, of course, is to say, Rachel Reeves has had her turn at being Chancellor, it hasn't worked out, and I'm going to replace her.
Yeah, and we're being told that the cuts that the Treasury are looking at now must be ruthless.
Yes, and they're going to put in panels of outside experts, private sector experts, to go into government departments and look at money that can be saved and efficiencies that could be made. But if you speak to civil servants, and yes, you can go back to the argument, they would say that, wouldn't they? But the argument is that actually there isn't a huge amount of money that can be cut within Whitehall after the austerity years of David Cameron and George Osborne. And Keir Starmer was absolutely crystal clear before the election he wasn't going to do more austerity. But that's ultimately what we're going to have because there aren't any other options if, as the Chancellor said last week, she's going to stick to her fiscal rules and not raise any more money through borrowing for day-to-day services, or not raise any money through borrowing for day-to-day services.
And yet you've got Keir Starmer saying this is absolutely not austerity.
It will be austerity. I mean, it's just he's chosen not. He doesn't want to use that word because, of course, he's got his own MPs to think about who are not exactly enamoured with the way things are going in terms of running the country. There's more noises off than grumbling from Labour MPs who are saying, "Hang on a moment, are we just going to be here for 5 years?" Actually, we want to see some sort of strategy from number 11 and number 10.
Will Rachel Reeves be able to hang on? Because the Labour front bench over the weekend on the Sunday shows saying, look, it's going to work, she just needs time.
It needs to work. And what I mean by that is the worm needs to turn. She needs to, the markets need to calm down. They need to, we need to see the gilt yields fall. The cost of borrowing fall for the government, and we need to see the pound strengthen because, of course, a weak pound only leads to higher inflation, which will, of course, keep interest rates high. So if it doesn't, it will have to be open to Keir Starmer to say we need to put somebody in charge who the City of London trust.
And Keir Starmer trying to change the narrative desperately, talking about this AI revolution today. Will that be the silver bullet for growth? It's
not going to be the silver bullet for growth, but it might help. We know that Keir Starmer wants to, reform planning laws. He wants a closer relationship with the European Union. Rachel Reeves has been over in China trying to secure foreign investment over there. And of course, there's the possibility, and I don't think it's a needle that can be threaded, but there's a possibility of some sort of trade deal with the United States. And as part of all of those options to increase growth, the one that Keir Starmer's looking at today is AI to get in foreign investment. It's something that we do technology well in this country. We develop it well, particularly in East London. And if they can get in something, it's got the potential to get in something like, 14 billion pounds of private sector investment, that's not taxpayer money, and create 14,000 jobs if the conditions are right for businesses to come over here and invest. But this all ties into what we've been discussing in terms of what the economy looks like from the outside to foreign investors. And if they're looking at the UK and thinking, actually, this isn't a growth area, this isn't a particular economy that we think is going gangbusters or has much of a future, then they're going to be put off.
Theo, thank you very much indeed. The independent inquiry into child sex abuse and rape has been blasted as a cover-up by Rochdale whistleblower Maggie Oliver.
The former detective who resigned from Greater Manchester Police over the way they treated vulnerable rape gang victims in Rochdale has told GB News that the inquiry chose to prioritise the voices of officials over survivors.
Marilyn Hawes, CEO and founder of Freedom from Abuse, joins us now with your take, Marilyn, on what you're hearing today.
Totally agree with Maggie. Completely agree. I mean, there was such a... I have a lot of respect for Alexis Jay for what she did, like with what was going on in the church, what was going on in schools, etc., etc. So why would this... Was it like about 2 pages covering, you know, what has been the most heinous thing that's ever happened in our country? It's absolutely outrageous. Now, I watched Charlie Peters on Saturday night, and I was tweeting like mad, and I was on actually with Martin Daubney the previous day. I had 131 emails from people supporting, and not just from the thing with the grooming gangs, but also victims who had been abused in child care homes, adults now whose plight was completely ignored by social services and councils, and it's absolutely outrageous. Now, what Charlie Peters uncovered, and I read up about the plight that he had to get anybody, any news channel, to actually listen to his programme. And you were the only ones. GB News, well done you, clap, clap, clap. To a lesser extent, but still on the case is Talk TV, but you have really covered it, and you've got to keep doing it, because Charlie's thing only covered Rochdale, Rotherham and Oldham. Yeah. There's many, many more. We know of over 50 more, and it is still going on today.
Yeah, we know all this, Marilyn. We know all this, but why then is there this sort of almost polite attitude? Well, you know, we don't really want to talk about this from officialdom. Why would it harm officialdom to talk more about this, to have more of this exposed?
Because they don't want to talk about it being a Pakistani, Bangladeshi issue. You know, and I'm not saying it's all of them, and I'm not saying it's a Muslim problem. I'm not saying that, but there are 4 times more Pakistani, Bangladeshi men involved in this than white men. There is therefore a problem. What is the problem with these authorities that cannot have, look at them, mugshot, tell you there you go. You've only got to look at the papers. I mean, it is outrageous. We've got to dig down. Now, somebody wrote to me and said, oh, the government should have lived experience people involved. If we had some of the victims involved, you know, they'd soon sit up. I said, they won't want that. They won't want that because it's not a can of worms, it's a vat of worms, and they want to keep the lid on it. They only want to do, well, they don't even want to do the barest minimum, do they? But they don't really want to do anything, to be honest. They'd rather that everybody went away, but they're not going to go away thanks to GB News.
We don't make it clear how heinous these crimes are. I mean, I would like to take each one of those pictures of those men who are doing time now and put beside them the pictures of the 7, the 8-year-old, the 10-year-olds, the 14-year-olds that they have raped and that they have abused, and then see if it even makes you more disgusted at what you're looking at there and what those men are responsible for.
Well, do you know what I found, Eamonn? When I watched Charlie Peters' documentary on Saturday, now I've known for years this is going on. I see all the reports and, oh my God, not another one, this is awful. But when you saw it all come together like Charlie had done, even I sat there thinking, this is harrowing. And if you can't see that we need an inquiry after this to name and shame, dig out those people who let this happen, they are third-party complicit to this crime. And you can't... And what sort of people turn their back away and sell their souls to... How can any human being ignore the plight of these youngsters? How do these young girls that happened then and even now, how are they going to live normal normal lives as a mother, as a wife, whatever. I mean, it really does affect your intimate relations.
Yeah, it affects those people for the rest of their lives.
For the rest of their life.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have a life sentence. They can't appeal. They can't be ignored. There was one girl, wasn't there, in Charlie Peters' documentary where this chap rocks up and says, "Oh, I'll hand the girl back if you don't arrest me." That's unacceptable. I mean, I just don't get it. And it is, I am certain sure still, it is still a racist thing that nobody wants to upset the apple cart. Nobody. Well, I'm sorry, you've got to tell it like it is. And I saw a comment from Jacob Rees-Mogg, who said. People are more concerned about there being more value in the Muslim faith than somebody being a devout Christian. And he's right. We're supposed to be a Christian country. Oh, no, we're not. We're supposed to be a civilized country. No, we're not. How can you possibly be civilized if you let this happen? It's still happening, and the government is doing absolutely stuff all about it. And it's a link with the gangs. There was I live about 10 miles from Bedford, right? And there was a young lad stabbed to death in the bus station in broad daylight 3 days ago. And I know from the police that was linked to county line gangs. It was a group of men, boys rather, teenage boys. And what's the government doing about this? And it's not just the Labour, it's the Tories. No one has tackled knife crime, which is nearly always related. And the way these gangs work, it's like the Russian doll effect, you know, the little Russian doll. He's hidden away somewhere, or she's hidden away somewhere. And the obvious person is the one on the streets. And how these gangs work, and it's the same with these revolting men. If someone is disloyal to the gang, the person at the top, who's probably creaming in £10,000 a day cash, sends a missive out to the youngest in the gang that says, "This person's been a little bit disloyal, hasn't brought enough money in, you've got to kill him." Now, if you don't do that, you yourself are going to get killed. These are brutal, murderous gangs. What is it that Keir Starmer and all other people need to understand? It is an outrage. And I don't expect to get 131 emails when I pop up my laptop on Sunday morning. Thank you very much for the support. And the support to you guys was massive. Massive. And please, I pray that you don't let this drop off, because
and we won't,
we've got
Marilyn.
to shame this government into doing a proper statutory inquiry, because it was like covered up. I totally agree with Maggie. Why did we have millions and millions we spent on every other community, but this was like this? And with the ICSA inquiry, with child sexual abuse, I helped people. I went to some of the inquiries when the victims were involved, and they handled it very well. But on this issue, why was it so depleted? And it makes no sense when people go, "Oh, there was a review." No, it was a rubbish review on this particular topic. It's outrageous.
Marilyn, we're out of time with you, I'm afraid. But as you say, this is only going to push more for that national inquiry, another one. Thank you very much.
And it's going to raise anger, and it will raise anger. And Wes Streeting can go and do one. If he thinks this is raising, oh dear, it might be racist tensions. You're causing racist tensions because you're not dealing with it.
OK. Marilyn Halls, thank you very much. Thank you. Always good to have you on the programme. And more questions as well as to this cover-up, as Maggie Oliver describes it as. Well, a government spokesperson from the Home Office has issued us the following statement, saying that no child should ever suffer sexual abuse or exploitation, and it is paramount that we do more to protect vulnerable children, which is why we're working at pace across government to drive forward real action.
Right, OK. I think we'll give the Great British Giveaway after that. Have a go. Hope it changes your luck today. Here it is. Shadow Secretary for Business and Trade. That's Andrew Griffith. Going to be talking to him next.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Thank you, Britain.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for subscribing.
Thank you for your support.
It's you that make us the People's Channel.
As we reflect on our journey so far, we're filled with immense gratitude.
You mean the world to us. We couldn't have reached this point without you.
As a very special thank you, we are giving you the chance to win one of 50 GB News thank you boxes. They're worth £50 each.
For full terms and conditions and to enter, just go to gbnews.com/thank you.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Teenage girls are out drinking their male peers in the UK at a greater rate than any other European country. Yes, more than a third of 15-year-old girls in the UK report getting repeatedly drunk, compared to less than a quarter of boys the same age. I suppose what I'd say to this is, boys, what are you doing? Pull yourself together. Well, joining me now is the editor-at-large at the Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths, and the former Labour advisor, Matthew Larzer. Charlotte, you're going to have to speak up on behalf of girls the country over here. 15-year-old girls boozing much more than their male counterparts.
I think it's to do with the pain threshold, so we can handle hangovers better.
Do you get hangovers when you're 15 years old?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I was drinking hooch and Smirnoff.
Absolutely. Whatever happened to hooch?
Yeah. And I just think we can tolerate it better. Right. And I don't know, I grew up in that kind of wild child 90s drinking era. I'm showing my age a bit. And, God, we drank a lot as teenage girls. I mean, it's actually shocking now in retrospect.
Well, I also think in terms of boys versus girls, I wonder if we've got a bit of a thing about... I mean, the old cliche that girls develop quicker, they can become social quicker. They can certainly get into the pub more easily because they look older.
Yeah.
You know, because of makeup, etc. I wonder if the boys are all just, you know, in their rooms playing on their devices, as it were. You know, as people increasingly dominated by screens, whether in fact there's an issue about socialisation, about whether in fact, you know, the lads are not out there socialising.
They have little sips of wine in France from the age of like 12 and they're absolutely fine about it.
Yeah.
Whereas we all know what happens to British girls, because I was one of them. You turn, however, old enough to get a bottle of Smirnoff Ice, and boy, do you go for it, and until you're vomiting, basically.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
And with the time at 23 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock on this Monday morning, we say hello, good morning and welcome to the Shadow Secretary for Business and Trade, Andrew Griffith. Andrew Griffith, morning to you. Front page headline with the Daily Telegraph: Cabinet told cuts must be ruthless. The Treasury warns of difficult decisions as markets put economic plan under pressure. So, what do you make of that?
Well, this is absolute blind panic from the government. I mean, of course, chancellors always have to make difficult decisions, but we're in this mess, and it really is a mess, and there's more economic data out from businesses today showing that they're cutting back on hiring. Confidence, as we know, is in the floor, and the cost of borrowing, the gilt markets, are at a near 30-year high. So the difficult decisions should have been made when the Chancellor originally did her budget. There was nothing in there on welfare reform. You remember she tipped a huge amount of money into public sector pay. And there's nothing that this government has done that's actually reformed the cost of government, which many of your viewers will know is not really delivering for British people. It's cosseting a lot of public sector employees. Those are the difficult decisions she should have made. And frankly, I don't think she's got any credibility, Eamonn. This is a government that's spanking billions up the wall on failed ideas around energy, that's trying to desperately pay Mauritius to take away some of our sovereign territory, another 9 billion that she's spaffing away. So it's not a credible idea that Rachel Reeves is now going to come out and make difficult decisions. All of the decisions she'd made have been the wrong ones.
Well, she says she's had to make difficult decisions because the dire inheritance that the Tories left her with. And in terms of the economy, she'll point to the EU and say it's a challenging picture across the EU. It's not just happening here.
Well, she inherited the fastest growing economy in the G7. That is no longer the case. Day after day, we see more economic statistics from business showing that they're having a really tough time of it. Pensioner viewers will have been freezing through the last few weeks so that she thought she could save a mere £1.5 billion. And when she actually did her sums, or others have done those sums for her, it doesn't save any money. This is a Chancellor, I'm afraid, who's so out of her depth, she needs a decompression chamber. All of the choices she's made are wrong. And as for talking about black holes, she had a strong inheritance from the Conservatives. She then made that immediately worse by pouring money into an unreformed public sector.
Andrew, we were just, she did head out to China to cultivate some trade links there. I mean, as the Shadow Secretary for Business and Trade, did you see, or what would you see as the value of that trip?
Well, I'm afraid very little so far. I mean, it's right that the United Kingdom should trade with many other countries. That's one reason why I've said her priority, the plane she should have been getting on, would be over to the US, one of the world's fastest growing economies at the moment, a great friend of the United Kingdom that shares our values, not with some of the problematic aspects of trade with China, but the United States, really strong ally. Instead, we've got this student politician approach where these guys, who are sad to say are now cabinet ministers, haven't really moved on from their time in student politics, insulted the incoming president of the United States. They should be desperately trying to mend bridges there. And that would be a really good opportunity to improve trade.
You see, Andrew, one of the things was we were supposed to increase growth, and growth is not increasing. Therefore, according to the Labour plan, they can't pay for anything there. Would you have an idea of what they should be doing? Where could we generate money as opposed to spending money?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't grow, Eamonn, if your knapsack is way down, right? We're running a global race now. The economy is global. If we want to deliver prosperity for people in the UK, we've got to be competitive, right? And the problem is that this government's tipping more and more weight in our knapsack as an economy with their public sector spending. They're coming up with more trade union-inspired employment laws. And you remember the first thing they did in that budget was tip another £40 billion into an unreformed public sector. So I would say the first thing you do is just not dig the hole that we're in deeper, which is exactly what she's done with the budget. And the results of that have been entirely predictable. Confidence shattered, cost of borrowing going up, businesses losing the confidence to actually hire people and jobs. And all of that's going to increase the size of our welfare state. I mean, it's a long, long list, Eamonn, but the thing she's done, every choice that this government has made things worse, not better.
Do you welcome, then, this AI revolution that's going to be announced today by Sir Keir Starmer? It's a bid to boost growth and deliver public services more effectively. £14 billion towards various projects, creating 13,000 new jobs. It sounds quite good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is good. Let's be honest about this. It is good. AI is one of those great forces that's going to improve the productivity of the economy and the public sector. But the tragedy here is there's nothing new, I'm afraid. I mean, you remember that one of the big things that Rishi Sunak brought, and Boris before him, was this big focus on technology. I myself was a science and technology minister, and we did a lot on AI, the vast bulk of which is being done by private sectors or our brilliant universities. What we've got here is a relaunch of what we were already doing in government. So all we've done is lose 6 months. If you remember, one of the first things I came on your programme to talk about it.
Yeah.
The new Chancellor came in and cancelled £1.3 billion for AI and supercomputing. Now, I'm glad some of that money's gone back in today, but we've just lost 6 months in that global race.
Andrew, we've got to say goodbye to you at this stage. Just before you go, though, I could hug you this morning. We were talking there and you referred to your knapsack being full. You were using that analogy there. At the weekend, I was talking to my kids who are in their 30s and I said, put it in my knapsack. And they all looked at me and said, what are you talking about? And I said, my knapsack at the front door. And they said, what's a knapsack, Dad? What is a knapsack? No one had heard of a knapsack, so thank you for backing up.
Everything comes around. If you wait long enough, everything comes around again, doesn't it?
It comes around again. Thank you very much. What would we call, what is the modern day name for a knapsack?
I don't know.
No?
I don't know.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm with your kids on this one.
It's like a backpack. You know,
it's
like
a strong bag used over your shoulder for a traveller. No, I wouldn't know what that means. A backpack.
A backpack, but you never heard of a knapsack?
I've never heard of a knapsack.
Well, me and Andrew
You and
Griffith
Andrew are aligned.
both know what a knapsack is. No one in their 30s knows what a knapsack is, but there we go. Paul Coyte knows what everything is. He'll be talking about yesterday's FA Cup action right after this short break. Breakfast with Eamonn and Ellie.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Tyne and Wear on the A19, there's a lane closed eastbound south of Sunderland between the Harrington interchange and Seaton interchange after an accident. On the M61 in Greater Manchester, 2 lanes are closed southbound between junctions 4 and 3 from the A6 at Farnworth to the Kersley Spur because of an oil spill. It's taking half an hour to get through. Trains between Birmingham New Street and Leamington are diverting via Solihull because of a signalling problem at Leamington, with buses replacing trains between Leamington and Coventry. In Hertfordshire, the A41 is closed northbound at Tring for repairs after an accident yesterday morning. The M20 in Kent is closed eastbound from junction 8 at Leeds Castle Maidstone to 9 at Ashford after a lorry jackknifed. And on the M26 in Kent, it's taking over half an hour in queues approaching the M25 because of a lane closure for roadworks on the M25. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Figures released by the National Child Measurement Programme in 2024 found that almost 1 in 10 children was obese in the first year of school. Children living in deprived areas are twice as likely to be overweight as those in more affluent parts. Organisations like the Prepped Foundation are educating youngsters about healthy eating by giving them the skills to create balanced meals. TV chef James Golding has joined the foundation as the head of food education, and he joins me now to talk about the work. James, lovely to see you here.
Good to see you too. So Prepped used to be Table Talk Foundation, and it's now obviously Prep for Life, Prep for Knowledge. It's basically a charity to encourage kids to have a better understanding of food, but at the same time enjoy cooking and hopefully make better food choices in their life, as well as perhaps share the information we give them with their families.
Do you see them developing an understanding of the difference between healthy and unhealthy food?
Yes, I think that kids tend to sort of be taught a lot of this in school, but being able to actually ask questions to a chef and be able to cook with produce which they know is one, that is going to be tasty because they've tasted it, but two, open their eyes to food that they may not have tried before. I think that I think a lot of kids say they don't want to try stuff because they don't like the way it looks, but the way that we produce our sessions, we encourage the kids to try, and I think it really does open their eyes. It's very easy, I think, currently to be able to make easier choices, say fast food choices or that type of thing, and it's obviously giving people the ability to make the right choices, but also the skills to be able to do it. So I think it's something that needs to be addressed and something that really needs to be pushed, and that's what we're doing as a charity.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We've been talking about death this morning because there's this idea that you can recycle graveyards. So after about 100 years, you would exhume
Not even
graves.
100 years, 80 years, yes, yeah.
You'd exhume a grave and then somebody else would be buried. We've not been very happy about that this morning. Lots of you agree, but Billy disagrees, saying, I disagree with you on this one. Cremation is the way to go. When you're gone, you're gone. None of this claptrap that we live on in another firm. When you're dead, you're dead. Well, good morning to you too, Billy.
Tilson Gabriel comes with his horn.
And Tilson Gabriel comes
and you're
with his
not
horn.
rising up from the dead.
And you want to be ready for it, Billy.
Paul Coyte rises from the dead most days.
I do, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Right, well, your team came back from the dead yesterday against Tamworth.
Well, yeah, they did, didn't they? Yeah, I mean, Tamworth were really good, and they're the 5th tier, and Spurs went up there.
So when you say 5th tier, what league is that?
National League.
And some of them work in Zara.
Yeah, there was the
And
player that works in
plumbers and
Zara.
electricians and...
Yeah, that's it. They're all part-timers, so they get to train twice a week. But as often, that's the magic of the FA Cup. Spurs managed to turn it round right at the end. They brought on Heung-min Son, and then they brought on a few other players as well that turned it around. And Kulusevski came on as well, who scored a really good goal, and then came through at the end. But the main part of this is that the FA decided there wouldn't be any replays in the 3rd round, which is part of that magic of the FA Cup, because the smaller clubs, then if they managed to get a draw, they would have gone to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The club would have made a load of money. They did very well, but they would have made a lot more money for the club. And also, it would have been a great trip out for the Tamworth fans. But
to the most beautiful stadium in the land.
Absolutely, absolutely. So anyway, Andy Peakes, who's the manager of Tamworth, I believe he's got himself a full-time contract, because he is going to be with us in an hour. So he's going to join us and have a chat about that.
OK, good.
Yeah, I'm sure he had a great time, but so close.
So close.
So close.
Oh, he's not discredited, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And Arsenal, Manchester United, as you enjoyed, came through on penalties against Arsenal yesterday.
Well, I would say it's revived our season.
I think so too.
I mean, to be still in there, to boot Arsenal out of the Cup, great rivals like Arsenal, firm favourites they would have been. We are the holders. We continue to be the holders. And to win with 10 men was just incredible.
Well, the draw has been made. For the 4th round of the FA Cup.
We got Leicester.
You've got Leicester, which is Ruud van Nistelrooy, of course. So you would fancy that. Some other ones as well, Manchester United, Leicester. So Brighton played Chelsea, Aston Villa, Spurs, Leyton Orient or Derby against Manchester City.
Oh, wow.
How about that one?
Yeah.
Leeds v Millwall or Dagenham and
What do you mean, how about that one? I mean, that one's a walkover for City.
Well, Leyton Orient, yeah, but if Leyton Orient beat Derby, it's a great tie for Leyton Orient. So how about that one? That's what I mean. Exeter, Nottingham Forest, who joined 2nd on points in the Premier League at the moment.
They're flying.
Absolutely. Exeter haven't been this far since 1981. I sound like, you know, when they do the draw, and they always have the
Exeter
figures. Won it since 1981, currently saying. Have you ever done one of those draws?
You're across your figures.
I've done one of those draws. I'll tell you about when I did an FA trophy draw and nearly lost one of the balls.
Did you?
Yeah, I never asked to do it again, because the thing is, if you draw... Apparently, I didn't take it seriously enough, because I was laughing when I'm going, the 3-time winners, and so and so, but I was playing the part. So anyway, if the ball drops, if you picking the balls out of the velvet bag, and if one drops on the floor, it's a no draw.
Really?
They have to do the whole thing again.
Your ball is contaminated.
Absolutely, because then you could go, oh, hang on, what's this one? Oh, I've got another one here.
Oh, I see.
Number 31, Tottenham Hotspur playing at home to Exeter. So, which is obviously what I would try. But there was the other thing. Do you remember they were saying they were freezing some of the balls?
No.
That was the other rumour. Whether this is true, to make sure, back in the day, to make sure that the ties were right, they would go in and go, OK, that's
you feel a cold one.
That's the cold. Go for the cold one, and then pull that out. Whether it's actually true or not, but they were all rumours in the past about dodgy draws. Yeah.
You never know what's going on.
Should we talk about the tennis?
Oh, yes. Jack Draper, currently playing in the Australian Open against Mariano Navone from Argentina. The Argentinian won the first set. Jack Draper broke back, won the second. Navone then won the third. Draper is up in the fourth. So it's going to be one of those typical British tennis player performances, which is going to go 5 sets. So he got to the semi-final last year. Do you remember when he was sick and he was throwing up in the middle of the game? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was having a mop it. Oh, anyway, that's another story.
Oh,
but also, the other game, Jacob Fernley, who's Scottish player, young British player, he is playing the legend that is the Australian Nick Kyrgios.
Who's very grumpy.
He is a bit grumpy. Let's hear what Nick Kyrgios has got to say. Nick.
You know, every time I step out on court, I don't know if I'm going to be super controversial in a good or bad way, which, I mean, throughout my career, it hasn't always been good, but it's added a lot of excitement to the game, I think. I think it's important because there's so many good players on the tour now, but I think there's not so many contrasting personalities. So I think it's healthy that, you know, I'm back and I'm playing.
he's controversial. He's a bit of a handful. I know you don't like him.
I'm not a fan.
I like him. You don't like him either, do you?
I can't see him.
Well, that's because he's got his hat on, you see. You couldn't really see him.
Sitting in the
He is
dark there.
Yeah, you can't see him. But anyway, he's controversial. He's a bit of a handful.
Yeah.
Jacob Furley's got to play him. He's going to be playing against not only the talent of Nick Kyrgios, but that of Nick Kyrgios as well. And also he's got the Australian crowd on his side as well. So it's going to be tough.
Yeah, it will
Going to
be,
be
yeah.
tough indeed.
You've got an Instagram golf challenge for us.
Oh, yeah,
What's
have a look
this
at
about?
this. Yeah, Bryson DeChambeau. Do you remember we did this a couple of weeks ago. Bryson DeChambeau had a challenge. He was going to try and hit a hole-in-one over his house.
The glass house.
That's right, yeah. So now he's asked fans to have a go. So he's got a fan come along and he said, I will give $100,000 if you can score a hole-in-one over my house into the back garden and a hole-in-one, 7 hours, and if you do it, $100,000. So I've got the whole 7 hours here. So sit back and enjoy. Have a look at this. This is terrific.
Finally, for the last challenge, we have Jimmy. He is going to be hitting, hopefully, a hole-in-one over my house. Oh, no. We're going to be giving you $100,000 if you make a hole-in-one over the house. Seriously. You have 7 hours to complete the challenge, and the challenge starts right now.
All right.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I want you to knock this in.
Should we just end production right here?
Oh, nice. Ooh, that's solid. That looks really good.
It's in! No! What?
What's he so happy about losing 100 grand for?
Well, you know what? 100 grand to Bryson DeChambeau is nothing. Probably he makes over 100 grand just from the video itself going
amazing.
on YouTube.
That is amazing.
Unbelievable. So he had 7 hours. It took him 3 minutes. Fifth shot.
And it took Bryson way more than that.
He did, because he gave himself all day and then eventually he got it in. But this guy, but I don't know if you noticed, but over the windows, there's like this fencing over the top.
Yeah.
And it's like these grating over the top of the windows because mine would go straight, probably in the bottom.
Wow. Incredible stuff.
Not
there.
bad, though.
Incredible. Thank you, Paul. If you're in search of some sun, here's where to go.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're looking for some winter sunshine across the Mediterranean at the moment, then western areas are your best bet. High pressure here is bringing relatively fine conditions across Iberia into parts of France as well. But we have the remnants of Storm Felix still lingering around for parts of Italy, Greece and Turkey. This is bringing some heavy showers, which could fall even as snow across inland areas. Generally, though, the showers are expected to ease as we head through the forthcoming week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Oh, we're just going to talk about the Tamworth interview coming up as well. But anyway, we've got Daubney and Theo Usher-Wood, and they'll tell you what's making the news right after this.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
And then fashionistas are keen to see which new trends are set to hit the catwalk.
Well, our next guest is very well placed to share her predictions with us after being a contestant on hit ITV series Dress the Nation, as well as being an upcycling and sewing consultant.
Wow. Joining us now is Tendai Murewe. I want to go back to you appearing on the ITV Dress the Nation.
Right.
Tell us about that experience. What was that like?
Oh, that was one of my highlights as a upcycling consultant. I learned to sew in my kitchen 5 years ago. And then, during COVID, just making masks. Then the next thing I was on a Dress the Nation, making dresses in front of TV. Yeah, it was just incredible. I think
we all had all these clothes that we have, but we don't know what to do with them. So mainly I started with men's jackets, taking off the sleeves and putting it like a print on.
I've tried this. I've tried taking off my sleeves before. I now have about 3 jackets with no sleeves. I never managed to put them back on.
You need to come to a workshop. You need to come to a
I need an
workshop.
upcycling consultant. 2025. What can we expect, fashion-wise?
I think bold prints are back. People are loving. I think you walk on the streets in frollals and oversized men's
So the
jackets.
exact opposite. We have drastically underperformed this morning. You're just saying, not like us.
We just woke up this morning and thought, it's winter, it's cold, it's grey.
Grey, miserable.
Is that not the way to go?
No, it is. It's still, I think because fashion is expressive. It's whatever you want to express yourself. You know?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camila Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camila Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast, 7:46. We're going through the papers with Theo Usherwood and Dawn Neeson. Morning, you two.
Morning.
And Dawn, you want to talk to us about Dominic Cummings?
I don't actually, but we're going to, aren't we?
Whatever happened to him?
Yeah. Well, what happened to him is evidently in cahoots with Elon Musk now, and supposedly he is helping to orchestrate Elon Musk's somewhat vitriolic attacks on British politicians, including Sir Keir Starmer. And this is what the government are claiming. And if you look at the timings of Elon Musk's tweets, they're sort of like coming from America in the early hours of the morning, and people are... You can set timer on tweets, by the way, but people are saying that it's really Dominic Cummings who's doing them. And, you know, the story's been moved on by Nadine Dorries saying, look, it's, you know, this is rubbish, it's not happening. And the other story is that Dominic Cummings also wants to launch his own party called the Start-Up Party to challenge the two main political parties over here. I mean, you know, there's lots of links between the two men. I mean, they're both quite geeky, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, Cummings notoriously advertised for weirdos and misfits to join Whitehall. Elon Musk is looking to hire super high IQ small government revolutionaries, whatever that might mean. And, you know, there's very good reasons they might be talking to one another. You know, neither of them are big fans of Keir Starmer, so why not? Strange things have happened.
Yeah.
Start-up parties, small political parties, don't work. And, you know, Elon Musk decided, you know, there's a parting of ways with Nigel Farage, and I thought that was foolish on Elon Musk's part. I mean, if he wants to revolutionise British politics, if he wants to change the game in British politics, the way to do that, I would have thought, would have been to have invested in Reform UK. Given where they are in the polls, given that they already have 5 MPs, 4 million votes, to try and bring about a new party, political party through Dominic Cummings, it isn't going to work. And the danger, I think, is that, you know, if you have... People always thought that Elon Musk gave Nigel Farage legitimacy. It was actually, funnily enough, I think it was the other way around. I think it was Nigel Farage gave Elon Musk legitimacy because he was in a political party. And if Elon Musk is just sitting in the United States tweeting away and somebody wants to get on board with Elon Musk and some of the stuff he said about Tommy Robinson, and that spills over into violence, then I think the security services will get involved quite quickly.
Do you think this is... I mean, Farage just said, like, he's been in touch with Musk and they remain friends, it's no long-term rift, we absolutely agree we don't want war with one another, and they're going to be at Trump's inauguration, aren't they? But when is that? A couple of days, isn't it now, literally? So they're going to be sitting next to each other there, so I think it is just a thing. But do you think this is Cummings just being a bit mischievous? Because that's always what he's done.
Well, he is mischievous.
He's just got an entire career out of doing that, so...
I mean, it may well be Dominic Cummings being mischievous, but I thought, and I think this is accepted pretty much across Westminster, Nigel Farage was quite right to make the point that he made about Tommy Robinson and not supporting Elon Musk's approach to Tommy Robinson. If as I said, and this is in no way a comment about any one particular individual, but if Elon Musk is tweeting and then we see that spill over into something else, and that people are involved in this country are involved in that, and that results in violence or somebody getting hurt, then I think that becomes a very different picture.
Meanwhile, Dawn, we have a disturbing figure here that a fifth of young people have no time for democracy. They shun democracy. This is in a new poll in The Guardian.
Oh, God, yeah, this is the most weird story. Basically, 1 in 5 Gen Z and millennials prefer the idea of strong leaders without elections or democracy.
I bet they wouldn't feel that way if they were living under one.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, who are they talking about? Putin? I mean, North Korea? I mean, what are they talking about?
Well, I tell you, I would say it's their frustration at nothing ever getting done.
Yeah, I mean...
Everything taking an eternity.
You're right, Eamonn. 47% of them feel that none of the current political parties represent their views. And 64% feel the UK is in a period of decline. God knows what the others think. But, they want a strong leader who doesn't have to bother with elections. This is what they're saying. And 21%, we're talking 18 to 45-year-olds here, and they agree that the best system is a strong leader without an election. I can't get my head around this one. Can you, Theo? It's just the weirdest story.
I think Eamonn, you raised the right point, is that actually people want things done. People want an effective government. And I think people increasingly, and this has been not something necessarily even for the past couple of years, I think this goes back, quite some time, are looking to their political leaders and thinking, are you actually going to make our lives better? If we have this democracy and we vote for you, then we want to see a result. We want to see you actually deliver something. And I think actually if democracies don't deliver that for people, then people become disillusioned.
Just have a dictator instead.
And it's worrying. It's worrying. It's not something I would support. But I can see why people. You can see why people. Going back. Even to the financial crisis in 2008. Since then, why people are sort of thinking, well, what's the point in investing in our politicians by lending them our vote, because nothing ever seems to get done.
Wow. Wow.
Theo, let's have a look at the Los Angeles wildfires, shall we? And criminals who are exploiting the chaos there.
Yes, this is an extraordinary story. It's just in the Mail, where looters are dressing up as firemen and then going into people's homes and robbing them. I just can't think of anything more just depraved, really, that you would think that that people would want to exploit the situation. The pictures from Los Angeles, it's been of Armageddon. They're just horrendous. And the Mail features a picture of just how quickly these fires spread, and it's got this sort of fire starting up on a hill, and then it sort of engulfs this house, and we understand it's done in a matter of minutes. But people's lives have been ruined, and destroyed even. And then people want to, take advantage of that and deceive them by robbing their homes, dressing up as firefighters. I don't understand.
29 people have been arrested, so in the great scheme of things, I guess it's not that many, considering 12,000 homes have been destroyed, and at least 16 people dead now. Is it? It's just horrific.
Well, meanwhile, another casualty of these fires is Meghan Markle's new lifestyle cooking show on Netflix.
Yeah, she's had to delay it, obviously, because of the wildfires, and her and Harry have been going around and visiting people who have lost their homes, and they've been accused of, what's the phrase? They've been accused...
Ambulance chasers.
Ambulance chasing, yeah. This is us getting publicity on the back of people suffering. She's been accused of it before, she probably is just wanting to get out there and talk to people and help people out, to be fair to her, because you would,
she's an LA resident, isn't she?
Yeah, you would. And her house is it's not in the danger zone yet, but they are on a warning to potentially evacuate. So it's just horrific. But you do have to ask with this entire story, how much of this is down to the complete ineptitude of the LA mayor, the LA fire chief? They weren't looking after the woods in the right way, the water hydrants weren't kept full of water. Lots of questions.
Lots of questions. If you've got any of the answers, please do let us know.
Yeah, gbnews.com/yoursay. Well, hopefully we're coming out of a cold snap. That would be some good news, wouldn't it? Let's get the details with Jonathan Vaughtry.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, very good morning to you. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. We start off this week with contrasts across the UK. High pressure is in charge in the southeast, keeping things fairly fine and settled, if rather cloudy. But low pressure in the northwest has already brought a frontal system in, so we're seeing outbreaks of rain for Scotland and Northern Ireland today, heavy in places. It will also be very gusty for these two countries, with gales around coastal areas at times. The rain will push its way into the far north of England later on this afternoon. That will allow for some slightly clearer, brighter spells to develop in the far north of Scotland. A few showers still lingering around, but it will be noticeably mild across northern areas today. Widely double-digit figures across both Scotland and Northern Ireland. This does mean we're going to see a rapid thaw of the snow that's been falling over the last week, so some local surface water issues are possible where this melts on the roads. The rain will push its way into the northwest of Wales into the evening period, but the rest of England and Wales managing to stay dry today. But you'll see it is a bit cooler here, 5 to 7 degrees Celsius as your top temperatures. And that cool theme across more central southern areas will continue into the forthcoming night. There could be a very localised patchy frost in places, some fog patches lingering around as well. A milder night to come in the north and west, still holding up in double digits in places. The band of rain then will stall its way across more central areas on Tuesday, but it has also weakened significantly. So it's mainly going to be light and drizzly stuff over some western hills of Wales, for parts of the Pennines and the Lake District as well. Many of us will manage to stay dry, but it is going to be a generally cloudy day. The best of some sunshine probably across the far south coast of England, but also eastern areas of Scotland. The north to south contrast in temperatures will continue, though, ranging between 8 and 11 degrees Celsius. And that contrast really will persist right throughout the forthcoming week. It's going to be northern areas that are milder, but also generally windier with a greater chance of some rain.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Fife, the A92 is partly blocked southbound by an accident between Lochgelly and Cowden Beath, causing queues. In Tyne and Wear on the A19, there's a lane closed eastbound south of Sunderland between the Harrington and Seaton interchanges, causing queues. In the M61 in Greater Manchester, 2 lanes are closed southbound because of an oil spill between junctions 4 and 3 from Falmouth to the Kersby Spur, taking half an hour in long delays towards there. Trains between Birmingham New Street and Leamington are diverting via Solihull because of a signalling problem. Buses replace trains between Leamington and Coventry. In Hertfordshire, the A41 is closed northbound at Tring for repairs after an accident yesterday morning. In London, the Blackwall Tunnel's closed southbound because of a breakdown, causing queues back along the A12 from Bromley by Bow. And the M20 in Kent's closed eastbound from junction 8 at Leeds Castle Maidstone to 9 at Ashford for repairs after an accident, causing long delays. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
You could be watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes and Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christies tonight, and here
We do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christies tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, good morning to you. The Treasury plotting to ruthlessly cut away at public spending after the markets reject the Chancellor's taxing budget.
Is Labour on track to become the new party of austerity?
Well, that's as the Prime Minister shrugs off criticisms and promises an AI revolution in a bid to get Britain booming. Earlier we spoke to the Shadow Business Secretary.
This is a Chancellor, I'm afraid, who's so out of her depth she needs a decompression chamber.
A grooming gang's whistleblower makes shocking new claims that the first inquiry was a cover-up.
Scotland opens its doors to the UK's first centre where addicts can legally consume drugs. But is it right that the Scottish Government pays millions a year to fund it?
Under 30s are admitting to hiring people to do what some might consider to be the most simple of tasks, like changing light bulbs. We're debating this morning whether the young have had it too easy, and is it time for them to toughen up?
As Meghan postpones her new Netflix show after the LA wildfires, find out which celebrities are criticising the Sussexes' latest photo opportunity.
And in sport this morning, British #1 Jack Draper currently in action in the Australian Open, 2-1 down at the moment. In the FA Cup third round, a 10-man Manchester United won a pulsating game at Arsenal, 20 penalties. And fifth-tier Tamworth took Spurs to an extra time game, and manager Andy Peakes will join us in about 20 minutes' time.
There's a north to south contrast in temperatures this week, but perhaps not in the way you'd normally think of it. I'll have the full weather details later on.
Hello there, very good morning to you. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast with Eamon and Ellie.
A bid to boost growth, or before we go on, sorry, we have anything to talk about, folks? Anything?
Got lots of views.
Yeah.
Want to do that?
Yeah.
We're talking about death this morning. It's got you all going. Talking about the recycling of graves after 85 years, potentially digging up graves, and somebody else can go in the grave instead. Lots of you talking. Debbie says, I'm not having the worms eat me. I'm going in the fire, and they can do what they like with my ashes after that.
Well, what difference does it make whether they burn you or the worms eat you?
I mean, neither sound like good options.
Especially if you're alive.
Especially. Christina says they did this in Victorian times, burying more bodies in old graves. And then there were floods and all of the bodies were pushed to the surface and some came up through the air. Oh, no, that does not sound good.
It's like the Thriller video.
Oh, no. And somebody else has said you should plant a tree or shrub in your garden and then put the ashes at the roots. That will help the environment. And then the reminder will be there every day.
Nice. I like that idea.
Yeah, so maybe that's the way forward. Okay. Keep views coming in. On AI, Mallory says, instead of artificial intelligence, can we just have some intelligence from this government?
Artificial or not. Yeah. And Paul, you've got the Tamworth manager.
Andy Peakes, yeah. I mean, he had a great day, and well, I say a great day. I mean, it was a terrific day. They just didn't get the win against Spurs.
Oh, but they did great.
They really did, and probably deserved it. So he's going to join us from Tamworth in about 20 minutes.
OK.
Great.
So, in a bid to boost growth, the Treasury is ordering ministers to be ruthless in cutting public spending as the Chancellor comes under increasing pressure.
Well, it's been a tumultuous time for Rachel Reeves as financial markets turned against her, leading to borrowing costs reaching a 25-year high.
And today, in a bid to change the narrative, the Prime Minister is set to announce an artificial intelligence action plan seeking to use technology to inspire investment.
Well, political commentator Theo Ushwood joins us now. Morning, Theo.
Very good morning to you both.
We're being told the cuts they're looking at are going to be ruthless. Is this austerity we're talking about?
Yeah, this is austerity in any other name. Of course, Keir Starmer given he's a Labour Prime Minister and Rachel Reeves is a Labour Chancellor, doesn't want to talk about it in such terminology because they promised before the election that they'd restore the public finances through economic growth by supporting businesses, getting higher tax receipts into the Treasury for public services. But it hasn't worked out that way with their budget. The markets have turned against that budget. As you say, Ellie, borrowing last week reached a 25, or the cost of borrowing last week reached a 25-year high. The markets didn't like what they saw in the budget. They don't like the prospects for the UK economy. And as a result, Rachel Reeves needs to come up with a plan alongside Keir Starmer to try and restore some confidence. Now, of course, she can't do that by just saying, well, we're going to put up taxes again, because that was the problem with the last budget. She's sticking to her fiscal rules, which is not to borrow money for day-to-day spending. And so the only other option she has left is to cut public spending. But that will mean that departments right across Whitehall are going to have to find some significant savings in order to ensure that the markets can look again at the prospects of the economy and say, and the government finances, and say, actually, OK, we can have confidence in your plans. And that's not going to be, those cuts are not going to be popular with Labour MPs, and they're not going to be popular with voters.
And do those departments, do they even have the headroom for those cuts? They're the departments that are already stretched, aren't they?
This is the argument from many senior civil servants, is actually during the austerity years, which of course from 2010 to 2015, they cut to the bone at that point. If there was any fat which they could take off their budgets, that was the point at which they did it. And actually, at the moment, we've seen the crisis in prisons with overcrowding, we've seen the crisis in the NHS with waiting lists up at over 7 million, schools with crumbling classrooms. Actually, there isn't necessarily money to be saved, and the departments are asking for, if anything, they're asking for more money so that prisons can function properly without overcrowding, so that schools can be rebuilt, and the NHS can treat patients at a much faster rate.
So Keir Starmer will be trying to change the narrative on all of this today, won't he? Talking about this AI revolution. Is that going to be the silver bullet for growth, do you think?
It is not going to be the silver bullet, but he'll be hoping that it'll be part of a package of plans, whether it's a reset with the European Union, which we're probably going to hear about in February. Rachel Reeves over last week in China trying to drum up foreign investment there. And of course, planning reforms which are going to continue. The hope is from this government that if you bring them all together, the UK will become a much more attractive place to invest. And as a result, we'll see more better paid jobs, particularly AI is about better paid jobs, skilled. But ultimately, you've got to ask yourself whether the machines are going to end up doing the work eventually.
OK, Theo Ashwood, good to see you. Thank you very much.
OK, let's get into the Great British Giveaway. You know the score, 50,000 quid, and it could be yours. Have a go.
Yes, best of luck to you.
8 minutes past 8. The independent inquiry into child sex abuse and rape has been blasted as a cover-up by Rochdale whistleblower Maggie Oliver.
The former detective, who resigned from Greater Manchester Police over the way they treated vulnerable rape gang victims in Rochdale, has told GB News that the inquiry chose to prioritise the voices of officials over survivors.
Let's hear from Charlie Peters, the man behind all of this, our GB News national reporter, as to his views on all of this. What do you think about what Maggie had to say, Charlie?
Well, Maggie's raised lots of concerns about this inquiry, which concluded in 2022. Over the years, we were first aware of this concern in 2020, when they started gathering evidence on this subsection, this strand on grooming gangs, or group-based exploitation, as it was called, the network abuse, network organisations in the inquiry. But we've never really seen the extent to which it was a problem, and she's now shared with us last night the report and the testimony she submitted to the inquiry and what was actually published, from 53 pages down to 18. Now, the inquiry at the time of these concerns being raised said that we used all of the relevant sections from Maggie Oliver's testimony. But a lot of survivors in Rochdale and a lot of campaigners around the country will think, well, hang on, this is one of the most important voices in this national discussion. Everything she's got to say is relevant, especially if you're taking away 2/3 of the information. Much of what Maggie's got to say is about police conduct. Speaking with her regularly about this crisis, this national crisis, she talks about how much she doesn't know about what happened in other areas. But in Rochdale, she knows precisely what went wrong. And she knows many police officers completely escaped criticism and scrutiny, in part because so much information from her report was redacted by this inquiry in 2022.
And it's just how wide scale this reaches out. You could be talking about 45 other towns or cities that weren't even covered by this.
Yeah, over 50, we think, because the ICSA inquiry looked at just 6 areas, but it made the deliberate decision to look into areas where there were no reports of these gangs operating. St Helens and Warwickshire was on that list, OK, but there were no lists, no records of a prosecution of a major Pakistani heritage gang operating. We found evidence of around 50 operating. Much of that evidence we have dates before September 2020, which is when the ICSA inquiry looked into this crisis. Many more towns have been added since that time. They deliberately made the decision to look away, to look into areas not just where there are no prosecutions, but where actually the number of Pakistanis living in that area is lower than the national average. So that really did not match with the crime pattern that is observable to any survivor, campaigner or expert in this field.
So how would you theorise as to why that should be? Why did that happen?
Well, Henrietta Hill, the then QC, who was the lead counsel to the inquiry, on the open day of the first day of the public hearing, she said that the intent was to look forward and not assess problems of the past. She didn't want to look at Rotherham, Rochdale and Oxford, where there'd already been some prosecutions. But the problem with that is that the rest of the strands, every other part of ICSA, was looking back to learn, to uncover the truth in order to make recommendations for the future. How on earth can you properly react to this problem and understand it and prosecute it if you don't look into the area where it's happening? So, Eamonn, we're looking at Warwickshire, but not Bradford. Warwickshire, but not Rochdale. Warwickshire, but not even Banbury, quite nearby, where we had a significant report of this gang operating.
How would you see the future of all of this? Where are we at? How will this go forward? Are we solving this problem, or are we just ignoring this problem?
Well, we have the Grooming Gangs Task Force, which was launched in 2023, which has made well over 550 arrests, protected over 4,000 victims. So clearly now some action is being taken, but we still just don't know the extent to which this scandal is a problem and the extent to which people covered it up, the extent to which police officers failed or actively colluded in the abuse, which many survivors say happened in their areas. I think the Labour position, now the government's stance on this inquiry, is in trouble, because more and more people are waking up to the fact that this inquiry never actually looked at the problem. And the Tories are getting a lot of criticism for this because the inquiry was launched while they were in power, and they completely failed to police it and to assess where it was going. It went completely off track. No, and it's no surprise that Baroness J, who authored the report, has defended it. But frankly, as we've heard from Maggie Oliver today, showing all her information being redacted, and many survivors who were ignored, key survivors, not a single one of them being able to give statements or be witnesses to the inquiry. They're all saying we didn't look at the grooming gang scandal. So for the government to say we've already had a report, Eamonn and Ellie, it just doesn't add up. And I think there'll be figures in Labour realising this, figures in Number 10 recognising that actually they're not telling the full story when they say that. And we have seen a softening of the government position. They're open to an inquiry. And a couple of days ago, Dan Carden, an MP for Liverpool Walton, he said that he'd be open to one.
He broke ranks.
You told the story in as far as you know it on your programme at the weekend. Is that available for people to see if they'd like to see that?
Sure. Our documentary, Grooming Gangs, Britain's Shame, is on YouTube and all of the GB News digital platforms for review because it tells the national story of this scandal.
And it is shocking to see it all laid out in that way.
Yeah.
And now we've got whistleblowers coming forward. I mean, there has to surely be now a national inquiry. The more we hear from these whistleblowers, the more we hear about evidence being redacted. I mean, Operation Linden, there's been another whistleblower in the Times today talking about how some senior police officers were just told, don't even write down.
This is, I think, the true unwritten scandal of what happened in Rotherham, and it's coming out now. Appalling timing for the Labour government, but perfect timing for survivors who've been waiting to hear this for so long, because we're hearing today that the IOPC, the police watchdog, did not look sufficiently, did not have thorough investigations into police officers who failed. They looked at around 91 complaints. Only 6 officers received any penalties. Nobody was fired, and the most severe penalty anybody received was a written warning. A written warning. Some of what Operation Linden uncovered, and it's hundreds of pages long, is scenes where police officers saw girls being abused in cars and did nothing. One father, whose daughter was being abused, was told that it would teach her a lesson. These are children being abused, and that was what the police did. If that's what the police watchdog found with an unthorough investigation, God only knows what they'd uncover with a proper one. And one other key point from that whistleblower testimony in the Times today, and I think there's more to come on this week, and people should wait for more revelations, because this whistleblower also said that senior officers were deliberately not investigated. Yep. It didn't go above inspector.
Yeah, and also said actively told not to pursue senior officers as well in their investigation. So you're right, Charlie, there's probably a lot more to come.
Absolutely.
Well, well done to you and everything
that
you have done. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that testimony in the Times today is really shocking, including police officers who'd walked into, as Charlie says, walked into rooms where girls were being abused, much older men in the room with them, and it is the girls that were arrested for being drunk and disorderly. Just some of the testimony from that whistleblower.
A spokesperson for the Independent Office of Police Conduct says every one of the 91 investigations within Operation Linden was carried out thoroughly, and all lines of inquiry exploited by up to 50 IOPC staff.
Throughout the 7-year investigation, the second largest in our history, our priority was the welfare of the survivors who showed incredible bravery in coming forward.
We identified systemic issues, including failures in leadership, lack of professional curiosity, cultural issues and gaps in skills and training. Where individual failings were identified, they were addressed.
Now, at 17 minutes past 8, let's take a look at some other stories coming into the newsroom this morning.
At least 24 people have been killed as the fires continue to rage in California. Fierce winds are forecast for the coming days, potentially further refueling the fires. Emergency workers are still struggling to contain infernos, with over 100,000 people under evacuation orders.
The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, is facing fresh calls to commit to pulling out of the ECHR if her party returns to power. Steve Barclay, who held 5 cabinet positions throughout the Conservatives' last run in government, has taken to X to express his view that we cannot secure our borders whilst remaining part of the pact.
And the Duchess of Sussex's new Netflix series has been delayed following the fires in LA. Meghan Markle has said she's thankful to Netflix for supporting the decision. With Love, Meghan will now be released on the 4th of March.
Let's take a look at the weather now with Jonathan Vautry.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, very good morning to you. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. We start off this week with contrasts across the UK. High pressure is in charge in the southeast, keeping things fairly fine and settled, if rather cloudy. But low pressure in the northwest has already brought a frontal system in, so we're seeing outbreaks of rain for Scotland and Northern Ireland today, heavy in places. It will also be very gusty for these two countries, with gales around coastal areas at times. The rain will push its way into the far north of England later on this afternoon. That will allow for some slightly clearer, brighter spells to develop in the far north of Scotland. A few showers still lingering around, but it will be noticeably mild across northern areas today. Widely double-digit figures across both Scotland and Northern Ireland. This does mean we're going to see a rapid thaw of the snow that's been falling over the last week, so some local surface water issues are possible where this melts on the roads. The rain will push its way into the northwest of Wales into the evening period, but the rest of England and Wales managing to stay dry today. But you'll see it is a bit cooler here, 5 to 7 degrees Celsius as your top temperatures. And that cool theme across more central southern areas will continue into the forthcoming night. There could be a very localised patchy frost in places, some fog patches lingering around as well. A milder night to come in the north and west, still holding up in double digits in places. The band of rain then will stall its way across more central areas on Tuesday, but it has also weakened significantly. So it's mainly going to be light and drizzly stuff over some western hills of Wales, for parts of the Pennines and the Lake District as well. Many of us will manage to stay dry, but it is going to be a generally cloudy day. The best of some sunshine probably across the far south coast of England, but also eastern areas of Scotland. The north to south contrast in temperatures will continue, though, ranging between 8 and 11 degrees Celsius. And that contrast really will persist right throughout the forthcoming week. It's going to be northern areas that are milder, but also generally windier, with a greater chance of some rain.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Poll of the day. Today we are asking, do you agree with Lisa Nandy that TV licences be scrapped and replaced with a new tax? So instead of paying your licence, you just pay a tax.
It's just dressed up in a different way, isn't it? You'd still end up paying, even if you don't watch BBC content. Let us know what you think. You can scan the QR code on your screen now, or you can go to gbnews.com/poll, and the final result will be announced later in Martin Daubney's show.
I always say about the TV licence fee, you'll miss it when it's gone. You complain about it now, 100 and whatever it is now, 30 odd pounds or whatever, and you just get a subscription out of one of the streaming channels, the Netflix, the Paramount, the Skies, I tell you.
There's so many of them now, isn't there?
So many of them, and they charge per quarter what you're paying a year for your BBC. Just my view. What does it matter?
Yeah, let us know yours as well, gbnews.com/yoursay. Still to come, it turns out Gen Z don't know how to fix a light bulb. Do you know how to fix a light bulb?
Well, it's pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we're asking.
Depends if it's clip or screw, doesn't it, really?
That's true, yes. We're going to be debating that in a minute. Have they had it too
And I'm no
easy?
good at anything. I mean, if I can do that, then so could anybody. But it's a fear about doing it. It's a fear of falling off step ladders, and they don't normally do this sort of thing. And
they're very nervous.
And they're all full of angst. There we go. I'm full of angst as well. Every day. Sit here, don't know what you're going to come out with next. And full of angst all over the place.
Do young people need to toughen up? We're going to be talking about that next.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
With the dawn of the new year come new opportunities for the stage. Stefan Kyriazis joins us now to share how he started 2025.
We've got Sigourney Weaver, Hollywood star, coming in as Prospero in The Tempest. It's an experience. Sigourney Weaver has got this kind of patrician presence. She's always on stage, sat watching or stalking the area, but she doesn't quite get the Shakespearean rhythms for me. We've got more trauma for you, and we've got a little clip to run first. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. I don't know how people's Christmases were with their families, but this is a very unhappy family, so you can feel good about your family, whatever they're like. This is Tennessee Williams' deeply unhappy story of a family in sort of plantation south. The patriarch, Big Daddy, is dying, although he doesn't know it yet. Everyone is manoeuvring around him. Everyone is pretty unpleasant, pretty unhappy. It's all based on nobody really telling the truth. Everyone's suppressing things.
Got one more thing for us?
We do, and suddenly sunshine, life, joy. It's Nutcracker, but in Havana, which is from Carlos Acosta. It's a very Cuban feel, and again, we've got a lovely little clip to cheer us all up.
Good.
That. There was no Christmas when he was growing up. Castro had banned it all. So we've got this setting in Cuba, and instead of magicians, you've got the uncle coming back from Miami, loads of presents. It's just full of joy, and you've got a reworked music. I love the Tchaikovsky score to death, but this one has been added, so you've got kind of Caribbean flutes and lutes and guitars. Huge exuberance, colourful, bright.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 8:25.
So what are we talking about now? This is
about young people
and DIY.
And DIY.
I can't do DIY.
Can you not?
No, it's not that I can't do it. I was never taught to do it. Yet all my brothers can.
But you were on telly from the age of 18.
Yeah, and I sort of didn't need to. I could always, from an early age, pay someone else to do. I do what I do, and you pay them to do what they do. But I don't feel proud of that.
No, but you can. You can do things. You said you could put in a light bulb.
But we're talking
and
very
you can
basic.
rewire
I can change a tyre on a car. I can do things like that. But
and you can rewire a plug.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's more than most people.
Did you not learn that at school?
I did not learn that at school.
Well,
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know how to change a light bulb, but I definitely couldn't do any
there are
rewiring.
lots of things we should learn at school. That's why I think the curriculum. What's more useful to you, knowing how to cook and do things like that, or being able to recite from Shakespeare? I put
the
it
practical
to you,
stuff would be a lot more.
That's what I think.
Useful, wouldn't it?
Anyway.
We're asking this morning, would you pay upwards of £1,000 a year for help with basic DIY tasks?
Yes, of course you would. Turns out Generation Z is paying big bucks to avoid rolling up their sleeves. An alarming number of youngsters admit they can't do simple tasks like cleaning a car. Rubbish, this is rubbish. I mean, they can't clean a car.
Well, they can. They just, I'd say they
One
probably
thing
don't
I
want
used to do really well was clean a car.
Oh, yeah.
In those days, when I was cleaning my father's car, and there was a lot of chrome, cars had chrome, and there was a lot of polishing and things to do.
This is the same thing as the sign guy. You like how satisfying it is. A deep clean.
A deep clean.
You've always liked it, clearly.
Absolutely.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So, Generation Z has it got it too easy? Is it time to toughen up? Like actor and commentator Debbie Arnold thinks so. Good morning, Debbie. And political commentator Jess Gill disagrees and says youngsters have unfairly gained a bad reputation. Now, a bad reputation. Now, explain to me why, Jess, you think that is the case. I mean, that people are frightened to clean a car.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you so much for having me on. I think, well, personally, honestly...
Sorry, I can't hear Jess. Can you hear Jess?
Oh.
Yeah, can hear Jess.
No. Hello, Jess.
Okay. Hello. Thank you for having me on. Well, personally, honestly, I'm completely incompetent when it comes to changing a light bulb. If I had to paint a room, I'd be useless at it. And partially that's because I feel a bit insecure about it if I messed up, especially because a lot of young people, they rent, for example, and it's not my property. So if I mess up, it would be, at the cost of somebody else. So I would feel bad in that regard. And also, I think another part of it as well, you can hire somebody quite cheaply on like TaskRabbit, for example. When I had a flat on my own where I had to like get flat packed furniture up the stairs. And as a young woman, personally, I can't carry that, especially as someone with asthma. So I hired somebody, £20, just to simply help me lift something up the stairs. And I think an essential part of this discussion and debate that probably goes underlooked is the fact that a lot of young people, they don't have the community that their parents used to have. My dad, for example, he could do whatever. He could, create an entire kitchen, and he's not an expert in that. But I think there was a sense of the older generation, they could figure it out. They inherited these skills from their parents, from their family. They had a community around them to support that. I don't have that. None of my siblings have that, all my friends have
That's
that.
an interesting point. That's an interesting point. I mean, the idea, when I was young, there would always be my dad's mate or his cousin, or there was definitely a whole community.
It ties into that thing we were talking about the other day about being neighbourly, and we've lost that sense of community and being neighbourly and helping each other out. Debbie, what do you make of that point? That's an interesting point that Jess raises.
But I think it's our fault as parents. If we've raised children that can't do these things, it's ridiculous. Go and change a light bulb. I am terrible at doing most things, but I can do these little practical things. And it wasn't because, I wouldn't like to ask somebody to change a light bulb. I'd feel over a pillock if I did that. And also about cleaning your car. Why wouldn't you want to clean your own car? I mean, even though I don't clean my own car, as a young person, I would have done, because I wouldn't have wanted to waste money on stuff like that. I'd rather spend it on makeup.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I remember as a teenager earning money cleaning cars. That was one of the simple way to earn money.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And also, Eamonn, I've got to say this. What are men for?
Yeah, what are men for? Have we lost practical men, Jess? Do you think there are young practical men anymore, or is that generations gone by?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about my own personal...
I'm so sorry, my dog's going mad here. I have to rescue her.
I completely agree. I don't think as women... I don't think as women we feel like we can ask men as well, because of feminism and because of the idea that men and women should be treated equally. Men and women should be seen as also biologically equal as well. We've been raised with this propaganda that women can do exactly what men can do, but realistically, I'm much weaker than a man, and I would prefer a man to help me out with changing the light bulb, with putting the Christmas decorations in the attic, with stuff like that, which we do need men for. And I think it would be good to reinforce that positive version of masculinity. As we were talking about before, I think a lot of these pivotal roles are men, not just professionally, but in a personal way. From a working class northern community, my dad, he knew everyone. If we needed somebody to do to sort the dishwasher out if it was broken, if we needed someone to cut down a tree, they would know someone.
Apparently, these Gen Z, apparently they don't want to go up a ladder in case they fall off. I think the thing is, these guys are living a lot in their heads because of what goes on the tablets and the computers. So when you're left to something practical, you can't actually do it. And practicality is something that you have to be able to have in life. I mean, what happens if suddenly all communication, all the internet was wiped out and everything like that? No one would be able to handle it anymore, would they?
Well,
I mean, they wouldn't be able to do anything.
Well, Jess, your light's gone out. I don't know who's there to change that, but we'll leave you to that. Thank you both very much indeed for airing all that and making us all think. Yeah. Thank you very much indeed.
That was really interesting, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The idea that we've lost community and that men need to feel positive about helping out and doing practical jobs. I think that's a really good point. I was in a restaurant the other day and I couldn't lift the chair because it was too heavy. And I had to ask the man on the next table to help me lift the chair. He went, and then afterwards I went, oh, thank you so much. We needed a man to help us in that situation.
Yeah.
He went, oh, thanks for saying that. I really needed that. I gave him a boost to help us.
Well done, well done.
Anyway, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/.
Tamworth got a great boost against Spurs yesterday, even though they lost in the FA Cup. We're talking to their manager. Looking forward to speaking to him next.
The latest GB News travel. Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M74 in Glasgow, 2 out of 3 lanes are closed southbound after an accident between junctions 3 and 4 from Carlisle to Maryville, causing queues. On the M61 in Greater Manchester, 2 lanes are closed southbound. There's an oil spill between junctions 4 and 3 from Falmouth to Kersey Spur, taking half an hour to get through. Long delays towards there. The M62 in Cheshire is partly blocked eastbound by an accident at junction 9 at Winwick, causing queues. The M56 in Cheshire is partly blocked eastbound by an accident between junctions 15 and 14 from the M53 to the Chester services, causing delays. In Shropshire, the A5 is blocked westbound by an accident between the M54 and the A49 near Shrewsbury, and the M20 in Kent is closed eastbound from junction 8 at Leeds Castle Maidstone to 9 at Ashford for repairs after an accident, causing long delays. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Teenage girls are out drinking their male peers in the UK at a greater rate than any other European country. Yes, more than a third of 15-year-old girls in the UK report getting repeatedly drunk, compared to less than a quarter of boys the same age. I suppose what I'd say to this is, boys, what are you doing? Pull yourself together. Well, joining me now is the editor-at-large at the Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths, and the former Labour advisor, Matthew Larzer. Charlotte, you're going to have to speak up on behalf of girls the country over here. 15-year-old girls boozing much more than their male counterparts.
I think it's to do with the pain threshold, so we can handle hangovers better.
Do you get hangovers when you're 15 years old?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I was drinking hooch and Smirnoff.
Absolutely. Whatever happened to hooch?
Yeah. And I just think we can tolerate it better. Right. And I don't know, I grew up in that kind of wild child 90s drinking era. I'm showing my age a bit. And, God, we drank a lot as teenage girls. I mean, it's actually shocking now in retrospect.
Well, I also think in terms of boys versus girls, I wonder if we've got a bit of a thing about... I mean, the old cliché that girls develop quicker, they can become social quicker. They can certainly get into the pub more easily because they look older. Yeah. You know, because of makeup, etc. I wonder if the boys are all just, you know, in their rooms playing on their devices, as it were. You know, as people increasingly dominated by screens, whether in fact there's an issue about socialisation, about whether in fact, you know, the lads are not out there socialising.
They have little sips of wine in France from the age of like 12 and they're absolutely fine about it. Yeah. Whereas we all know what happens to British girls, because I was one of them. You turn, however, old enough to get a bottle of Smirnoff Ice, and boy, do you go for it, and until you're vomiting, basically.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Let's talk football now, and Paul will lead us in that direction.
Absolutely. You know, it's kind of closure for me as a Spurs fan, because I think Tamworth were extremely unlucky. Didn't you think, yesterday in that game?
Oh, they smashed it.
Yeah, of course they did. I thought they were very credible, but, you know, they should never win against a team like Spurs.
0-0. It was at full time, then 3-0 to Spurs after extra time. And the problem is that maybe Tamworth should have ended up with a replay, because in years gone by, that always would have been the case.
Well, that's a talking point.
It certainly is. Who on earth should we talk to about it? I know who. The manager of Tamworth, who did himself and the town and his team proud, and the team were fantastic. Andy Peakes we're speaking to right now. Hi, Andy.
Hello.
Hello.
Here he is.
There he is. Andy, great to see you.
And great to see you smiling, Andy.
Yeah, I'm still smiling. Yeah.
But Andy, do you feel today we're all up for you, and we're, you know, greatly sympathetic, and, you know, it was a great game. It was a very, very good game. Do you feel strange about rejoicing in a 3-0 walloping?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people have said. To feel so pleased to get beat is unusual, but I was just pleased with the performance of the boys, and I thought they did themselves proud, which was what I wanted.
Andy, no sports professional ever goes into a game thinking that they're going to lose. Whoever I speak to, they say, always think we're going to win. What did you think before? Did you actually think, you know what, there's a chance we could do something here?
All week we thought, we wasn't sure what sort of team they would bring, how strong it was going to be. But when I actually saw the team shooting the subs, I guessed it was going to be a tough afternoon. But no, we were great. We were in the game right to the end. And that's all I could ever ask for.
Andy, tell me, what difference does the plastic pitch make? You were playing on plastic grass. Does it really make a difference?
I think it was definitely an advantage to us because we train in it each time we train and we play in it week in, week out. And obviously the Spurs boys don't play on artificial because you're not allowed at that level. I think the level we're at is the highest you can use it at. So I'm sure that was an advantage. Obviously our crowd and facilities made it a bit of a leveller for us, but obviously player for player, they still had a lot more quality than we had, so we competed right up till the end.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, you say that, Eamonn and Andy, I think you're being really generous, but at the end of the day, you're dealing with, you've got part-time footballers compared to multi-millionaire footballers who should win very easily. But what was it that, I mean, every player to a man was magnificent, and it came so close, and it was like down to the last minute, wasn't it? And you nearly got a winner.
Yeah, we got so close. Literally, we could have nicked it in the 90th minute, and we say football's fine margins. And like you said, we could have scored. That was our opportunity. But they were brilliant. The whole lot were brilliant. We knew we had to play out of our skins, and they did that. They put such a shift in. They were so organised. They worked so hard. That I couldn't have asked for any more, like you said, apart from us perhaps nicking it at the end. But I thought they did the crowd. I thought they did the actual town of Tamworth, the football club, absolutely proud. And that's all I ever asked for.
Oh, that they did, Andy. Can you tell us a bit more about the team? Because Paul Coit was just saying there, wasn't he, that they're part-time footballers, they've got part-time jobs. And Ben Ray Onoru, who was the one who was fixing their net at the beginning, wasn't he? He'd just done a shift at Zara before he played that match?
Yeah, he did his shift at Zara, so I'm guessing he'll be back there this morning where all the boys, they'll all be back on building sites or whatever they do, zip salesmen, sandwich salesmen, they'll all be back doing that this morning. So, yeah, it's back to reality today, I'm afraid.
What about you, though, Andy? Because I know you work as a teaching assistant, but isn't it true that now you're full-time manager, that you've got the gig full-time and there's been a bit of money raised after the game?
Yeah, I've gone full-time. Obviously, I'm still working at college at the moment for the next 4 weeks because I didn't want to leave them in the lurch because we've got exams and I'm supporting students. But Monday's my day at Tamworth anyway, so nothing's different for me today. I always did Mondays at Tamworth and then the rest of the week at the college. So I'm back to the college tomorrow with the students. I'm expecting quite a good reception because I know a lot of them and the tutors all followed it. They've all got on the bandwagon of the cut run and they've all enjoyed it.
Yeah, but Andy, I still look back and I think in days of old, not too long ago, you'd have got a replay out of this. You'd have got yourselves down to Spurs, and that surely for the club would have been a transformational thing to get the gate receipts on that one.
Yeah, I think it obviously would have been a massive amount of money. You know, it's not. We know from the start there wouldn't be replays, so nothing changed. And the idea is that the previous earlier rounds for non-league clubs was more prize money, so it benefits you that way. But obviously, when you get a chance to go to Spurs, it doesn't compensate for that. Absolutely not. I mean, it's annoying because we've got enough free Tuesdays to add a replay, but I guess there's teams like Spurs and the big boys just haven't got any more dates. So I guess that's why it's cancelled. So it's a shame for non-league teams because it would have been an unbelievable day out.
I agree. I mean, it is a shame, and that's like the magic of the Cup, is to get those replays. Finally, what about Big Ange, Janj Postecoglou? Did you get on well with him? Did you speak to him beforehand or afterwards?
To be fair, I spoke to him before. He was really respectful. He known the journey we've been on. He said how well I'd done the last 2-3 years there and what we'd done. And then after the game, we had a real good chat. He did a programme and said I should be proud of the boys. And, yeah, he was absolutely fantastic, as were all the Spurs players, to be honest. They were brilliant with the fans and our players after. I can't speak highly of them. They conduct themselves in the right way. And I thought it was very respectful. He brought a good team. And obviously, he even brought them, you know, when I said to our boys at the end of normal time, going into extra time, I said, I think they're struggling. They're bringing their subs on then.
They were. But did you get Archie Gray's shirt? Because Archie Gray, with a great Leeds heritage, I mean, he's only an 18-year-old, and I because you know his granddad was Frank Gray and Eddie Gray in the family as well. Did you get his shirt in the end?
I had a lovely chat with Archie Gray. I think he's brilliant. He's so humble and he's come so far. Yes. And again, can't speak highly enough. We had a good chat. He was going to give me his shirt, and one of the boys wanted it, so they had it. He's promised me one of the Tottenham kitmans promised they'd send me one because, say, my boys are both Leeds fans, so that would be really good to us. I've got no doubt, because the way they were yesterday, I've got no doubt they'll send me that. But if not, I've gone national TV a few times, and so I'll be chasing Archie for it if not.
Absolutely.
Cordy's got connections.
I have indeed. I'll make sure you get it. Don't you worry.
Top man, brilliant. Thank you.
Andy, great performance, absolutely super.
Absolutely.
Good to see you smiling today anyway. We wish you all the best. Great, well done.
Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great stuff.
See you.
Andy Peaks, their manager.
See, I'd call into Tamworth now.
Yeah.
I think it's Tuesday night or whatever is their match going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know what? And there's so many people were watching it, and everybody wanted them to win apart from Spurs fans, which is understandable.
And the fans
That's what the FA Cup's all about.
Weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was terrific, and I think it was really great. Tommy Tonks, we didn't mention Tommy Tonks. Tommy Tonks has not only got the best name, but he's the one that can launch the ball 40 yards.
Wow.
This guy can throw.
See, when I was young, we used to copy Ian Hutchinson at Chelsea.
Yep.
He used to throw the ball, seriously, he'd throw the ball and his arms...
It was like Windy Miller, wasn't it?
Then, yeah.
His arms would go round and then woof.
Right, yeah.
And Martin Chivers, he was one with a big throw as well.
Oh, yeah. He could head them as well.
He still, yeah. In fact, he'd throw the ball so far, he would throw it and then he would run over and head it in afterwards. That's how good he was.
Excellent. Here's how good the weather is in top European holiday destinations where the sun is shining.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're looking for some winter sunshine across the Mediterranean at the moment, then western areas are your best bet. High pressure here is bringing relatively fine conditions across Iberia into parts of France as well. But we have the remnants of Storm Felix still lingering around for parts of Italy, Greece and Turkey. This is bringing some heavy showers, which could fall even as snow across inland areas. Generally, though, the showers are expected to ease as we head through the forthcoming week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Now, you had a lovely weekend, didn't you? You were on the telly, not here, but on the Weakest Link.
What was lovely about that?
You were great.
Stop it.
He was. It was really good. If you haven't seen it, it was very, very good.
It was quite good.
You would be good because your general knowledge is
I was the strongest link in 2 rounds.
You were fabulous.
You were the strongest link in 2 rounds. So we thought we'd have our own go.
Oh, no, don't.
Yeah, you're not done.
No.
You're going to play the Weakest Link here on GB News Breakfast.
Oh,
yeah.
OK.
And you'll probably end up being the strongest link there as well. That's going to be next.
Next.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
We were talking earlier about the issue of Siri listening to you. Well, it's not just your own conversations being sort of harvested for data. But it's a problem with AI. So what seems to have happened yesterday is that Apple issued a alert saying that Luke Littler had won the darts before he had. I mean, imagine what would, if he then gone on to lose, how that would have looked. I mean, obviously, because he went on to win, at least they got the story right. But before it had happened. So what it seems to happen is that the AI farms existing stories. And what it has done, that's the alert. We can see the alert there. Now, and it also claiming that Brazilian tennis player Rafael Nadal had come out as gay when actually a different Brazilian tennis player was actually mentioned in the original story. So what it does is you see that it's branded as BBC Sport. What the Apple AI system does is it farms alerts that it thinks people are getting from the source and then summarises them into one. That's going to be my question. Into one alert.
Looks to me like you would assume, OK, the BBC are reporting this.
Absolutely.
So the BBC News might be saying something else.
So it could happen to any news organisation.
This has highlighted a massive issue. I mean, having editorial judgment and quality control, because if this is going on, it's just contributing to the flow of misinformation. Yes. And we know that this is a problem on social media, people reporting false things. But if it seems to come from trusted news sources, that is a massive issue in credibility. I mean, if you had something like Reuters, who's a big news provider, doing this, you could hold people accountable, you could make changes, but when it's the AI doing it, I mean, what do? You're going to have to reprogram it in some way.
And if you just lost control, if you're a news source, you've lost control of what goes out because it basically farms it, puts your logo on it, and sends it out, even when it's nonsense.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Thank you, Britain.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for subscribing.
Thank you for your support.
It's you that make us the People's Channel.
As we reflect on our journey so far, we're filled with immense gratitude.
You mean the world to us. We couldn't have reached this point without you.
As a very special thank you, we are giving you the chance to win one of 50 GB News thank you boxes. They're worth £50 each.
For full terms and conditions, and to enter, just go to gbnews.com/thank you.
Welcome back to Breakfast with Eamonn and Ellie. And now for something a bit different, because there's a very special guest on The Weakest Link over the weekend. Can you guess who that might have been? Let's take a look.
I'm Eamonn, I'm a broadcaster, and I'm... Now, it should be said, I was the weakest link an hour and a half into the programme.
Yeah.
Not straight away.
You were the strongest link in 2 rounds, actually, weren't you? Did you have fun?
No.
Oh, why?
No. It was very nerve-wracking.
Were they ganging up on you, though? This is always
They were
ganging up when they do the...
Oh, how they hate you.
Do they?
They immediately identify who the strongest person is.
I imagine, yeah, they just vote you out first.
It's amazing. All the young people vote for each other.
Right.
And all the old people vote for each other. Right. And it's quite... And there were more young people than old people.
All right, well, I thought you did very well.
Thank
you. It's a generational divide.
Right, so my weakest link is...
I don't even have it written. Yes, very good. So we're going to play a game, aren't we? But before we get into any of that, just to say that you did beat the likes of Mel B.
Yes.
From the Spice Girls, the actor Dennis Lawson, and the Hollyoaks star Nick Pickard.
Poor Nick.
Yeah. It wasn't without controversy, though, with Scary Spice proving why she got that nickname.
Well, I mean...
And that was one of the reasons why she was thrown off, because she obviously couldn't count.
Ooh.
Yeah. Very competitive.
Feisty.
Feisty.
Yeah.
Feisty. That's just me.
Yes, so this morning we thought we'd have a bit of fun with our very own Weakest Link competition, with none other than Paul Coit taking on hosting duties.
Would it be fair to say I'm more Anne Robinson than Ramesh Raghunathan, do you think?
I would say that,
I think so.
Can you do that wink?
I just have to...
Yeah, you got it. You nailed it.
You're supposed to be more... I'm too nice to do this. I couldn't insult any of you.
Will you get on with it?
Well, OK, all right. Did you... I bet you didn't say that to Ramesh, did you? Right, OK. So we all have questions. We're going to go through this as quickly as we can. We have about 45 seconds for each round, or else we're going to be here all day. So question number 1. Eamonn, you're going to start. We're going to start with you.
Yes, my friend.
Eamonn, question number 1. In popular culture, the date May the 4th is known informally as what? Star Trek Day or Star Wars Day?
Star Trek Day.
No, it's Eamonn's question. You can't answer.
Oh.
And you're wrong anyway. It's Star Wars. May the 4th be with you.
Oh, dear, oh, dear.
This is going well, isn't it?
We've already realised who the weakest link is already, and we haven't even started. Right, Ellie, here we go. In UK landmarks, which castle and royal residence is located in the postcode area AB35?
Balmoral.
Correct. Dawn, in nature, the name of the Roman goddess precedes flytrap to make the common name of a carnivorous plant.
Yes.
Venus.
Venus is correct. Eamonn. By the way, you can bank at any point, although we have no money. What was the code name, Eamonn, for the Allied invasion of Normandy? Operation...
Overlord.
Correct. Ellie. In the Olympic Games, the women's athletics competition that involves 7 track and field events is called the heptathlon or the decathlon. 7.
Oh, come on, everybody knows
Come on,
that.
Ellie.
It's the easiest.
Heptathlon.
I'm the host of the show, and I'm already holding up Ellie.
Excuse me, you have the answer. You've got an answer.
I haven't been yet.
Just need to double check.
One more. In the Bible, Dawn, this is not a good one for you. The first 4 books of the New Testament are the Gospels according to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and which other evangelist?
I do know this one.
John.
Yeah.
John is the right answer. So, shall we find out who the weakest link is? I'm never going to say anything insulting at anybody. Who thinks Ange Postecoglou is a Greek dinner? Who is the answer? Please hold up who you think the weakest link is. And if I don't get the gig for this...
Without a doubt.
Oh, wait.
Oh, what do you... Ellie?
Oh, I'm really sorry.
So, Eamonn, who are you going to vote for?
Ellie.
And for what reason? Don't even have to answer that. Right, so what about...
Guys, I think you'll find I had 3 correct answers, and I even answered Eamonn's question for him.
OK, Eamonn.
That's a fair point.
Oh, already. Probably not a good idea, Ellie, for you to hold that one up. But what about you, Dawn?
I say Ellie as well. I'm sorry.
Dawn!
I'm
We're meant
sorry,
to stick together and
Ellie.
look after each other.
Bye-bye.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye. Well, good luck, you two. Do they have another round now?
Let's find out who the weakest link is. Who could it possibly be? This is probably the easiest question that anyone will answer. Ellie, you are the weakest link.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye.
I do feel like that's quite mean. I feel like I gave you some
answer's fair.
I'm just the host. You got to argue.
I think it's a really good point. You did answer Eamon's question for him.
And you got Balmoral.
Right, we're going to go one more time.
Yeah.
Eamonn now against Dawn. 30 seconds starts now. Eamonn, here we go. In royalty, the son of Princess Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank, born in 2021, shares his first name with which month of the year?
Can I help?
Yes.
The son of who?
Princess Eugenie.
Oh.
Did you hear me?
No.
That's cheating.
That is cheating. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
That's the weakest link.
It's August, but I wouldn't know that.
But I did, and I'm the weakest link. Here's the weather.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there. Very good morning to you. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. We start off this week with contrasts across the UK. High pressure is in charge in the southeast, keeping things fairly fine and settled, if rather cloudy. But low pressure in the northwest has already brought a frontal system in, so we're seeing outbreaks of rain for Scotland and Northern Ireland today, heavy in places. It will also be very gusty for these two countries, with gales around coastal areas at times. The rain will push its way into the far north of England later on this afternoon, and that will allow for some slightly clearer, brighter spells to develop in the far north of Scotland. A few showers still lingering around, but it will be noticeably mild across northern areas today. Widely double-digit figures across both Scotland and Northern Ireland. This does mean we're going to see a rapid thaw of the snow that's been falling over the last week, so some local surface water issues are possible where this melts on the roads. The rain will push its way into the northwest of Wales into the evening period, but the rest of England and Wales managing to stay dry today. But you'll see it is a bit cooler here, 5 to 7 degrees Celsius as your top temperatures. And that cool theme across more central southern areas will continue into the forthcoming night. There could be a very localised patchy frost in places, some fog patches lingering around as well. A milder night to come in the north and west, still holding up in double digits in places. The band of rain then will stall its way across more central areas on Tuesday, but it has also weakened significantly. So it's mainly going to be light and drizzly stuff over some western hills of Wales, for parts of the Pennines and the Lake District as well. Many of us will manage to stay dry, but it is going to be a generally cloudy day. The best of some sunshine probably across the far south coast of England, but also eastern areas of Scotland. The north to south contrast in temperatures will continue, though ranging between 8 and 11 degrees Celsius. And that contrast really will persist right throughout the forthcoming week. It's going to be northern areas that are milder, but also generally windier with a greater chance of some rain.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M74 in South Lanarkshire is partly blocked northbound by an accident at junction 7 at Larkhall, causing queues. On the M6 in Lancashire, there's a lane closed northbound after an accident between junctions 27 and 28 from Standish to Leyland, causing delays. On the M61 in Greater Manchester, 2 lanes are closed southbound when there's an oil spill between junctions 4 and 3 from Farnworth to the Kersley Spur, taking 50 minutes now in delays towards and past there. The M54 in Shropshire is closed westbound from junction 6 west of Telford to 7 at Wellington after an accident causing delays. On the M42 in the West Midlands, the southbound exit at junction 5 at Solihull is blocked by an accident, delays there too. And the M20 in Kent is closed eastbound from junction 8 at Leeds Castle Maidstone to junction 9 at Ashford for emergency repairs after a lorry hit a bridge overnight, causing long delays. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Don't miss your chance
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
A very good morning to you. Happy Monday.
In a bid to boost growth, the Treasury is ordering ministers to be ruthless in cutting public spending as the Chancellor comes under increasing pressure.
Is Labour on track to become the party of austerity?
It's been a tumultuous time for the Chancellor as financial markets turned against her, leading to borrowing costs reaching a 25-year high.
A grooming gang's whistleblower makes shocking new claims that the first inquiry was a cover-up.
Scotland has opened its doors to the UK's first centre where addicts can legally consume drugs. But is it right that the Scottish Government pays millions a year to fund it?
As Meghan Markle postpones her new Netflix show after the LA wildfires, find out which celebrities are criticising the Sussexes' latest photo opportunity.
There's a north to south contrast in temperatures this week, but perhaps not in the way you'd normally think of it. I'll have the full weather details later on.
Hello there on this Monday morning. Thank you for your company. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast with Eamon and Ellie.
Today we've been reporting on Gen Z not being able to change a car tire or a light bulb, or it gets worse. What are folks saying?
Well, they're scared to go up step ladders in case they hurt themselves when they're changing a light bulb. Elaine says, my dad didn't drive, so I had to teach myself lots of things. Gen Z have YouTube. ND says these youngsters are useless. They should be embarrassed to admit that they can't do something practical. When I was younger, we wanted to do it to prove that we were men.
But we're not being taught by any, or they're not being taught by anybody how to do it.
Yes, but that's what Elaine's saying, that they've got YouTube. Do you need to be taught anymore? Got the internet.
And the thing about stepladders, very dangerous things, stepladders.
Well, that's why they're not doing it. That's why they're not going up the step ladders.
Okay.
And somebody else says Gen Z can't do simple tasks. Could it be a result of encouraging people to get a university education instead of a skills-based careers?
Yes.
Then we end up with loads of sociology graduates and no electricians, builders and plumbers.
Yes, that's very true.
It is very true.
Yeah. OK, in a bid to boost economic growth around the country, the Treasury is ordering ministers to be ruthless in cutting public spending in the civil service as the Chancellor comes under increasing pressure with all of this.
Yes, well, it's been a tumultuous time for Rachel Reeves as financial markets have turned against her, leading to borrowing costs reaching a 25-year high.
And today, in a bid to change the narrative, the Prime Minister is set to announce an artificial intelligence action plan seeking to use the technology to inspire investment. How do they do that? Well, let's go to our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, and she will tell you more.
Yes, good morning, both. Well, the government is promising to mainline AI into Britain's veins. That's quite a statement, isn't it? The PM making a big speech this morning. Of course, last week, the PM made a big speech on Monday morning. He was trying to talk about the NHS. In the end, that was completely derailed, really, by the rape gangs scandal. Will this AI announcement today be derailed again by talk of all the economic woes that the Chancellor is experiencing? So the government are saying that AI is a way to do two things. First of all, to get investment into Britain, to drive growth by leading on this, new firms, new technologies, that is a way forward. And the other thing it says it's going to do is basically help our public services. Very, very expensive, not functioning very well at the moment at all. They believe that using AI can help the NHS, that it can help with things like in education, teacher lesson planning, that it can even help on spotting potholes. The details of it will be published at about 9:30 this morning. I'm very interested in how it spots potholes, but they think it has huge potential. And of course, AI was a very favourite topic of the previous PM, Rishi Sunak. He used to talk a lot about its potential. He also used to talk about the risks and the need for guardrails. We're not hearing that from Keir Starmer. But they are convinced this is part of the answer to their current woes and to our stretched public services and to getting that growth that they seem to be struggling with.
Silver bullets for growth, though, Catherine.
Well, yeah, no silver bullet. And of course, they talked, didn't they, before the election about how they were going to fund public services and whatever they needed to spend money on, they were going to do this through getting growth. But of course, getting growth isn't easy, as successive governments have found. Liz Truss talked a lot about it. Of course, she was out after 7 weeks, so she didn't get the chance to implement any of her plans. But the economy seems to be going in the wrong direction. No growth to speak of. The cost of government borrowing up to, I think, a 25-year high. And the amount of money that we're paying just on debt interest is well over 100 billion. So the Treasury now instructing other departments to look for savings, cuts. You may call it austerity. That, of course, is not going to go down well. And the government's spending plans, although fairly generous this year, a little bit less generous next year, already had baked in a really difficult period towards the end of this Parliament, and it looks at the moment like it's going to get a whole lot tougher, unless, of course, Rachel Reeves decides to put up taxes again. But given the backlash to the taxes she's already put up, I don't think that's terribly likely.
No.
Catherine, thank you very much indeed. We'll leave it there. Meghan Markle's Netflix show has been postponed at her request following the LA wildfires.
Yeah, the Duchess of Sussex has also faced backlash after appearing to take photo opportunities in Pasadena.
Let's go to our royal correspondent on this, Cameron Walker, and he will tell us more. Tell us about the backlash situation, first of all.
Yeah, so the Duke and Duchess of Sussex visited a local food distribution centre, handing out food parcels to those who have been displaced or emergency service workers as well. And they happened to be captured by a local news crew. I think it was a Fox news crew. It's part of World Central Kitchen. That's a charity that they have supported for a number of years now, who've been doing this food distribution things. Whether or not it was a photo op, it's really unclear. I don't think we're ever going to get the answer to that. They didn't look like they were made up to look glam for the television. It looked genuine, but of course we know Meghan is an actress as well. So I'll let you make up your own mind on that one. But then we found out very late last night that the Duchess has asked Netflix to postpone her new lifestyle programme, and the Duchess has released a statement actually, and she says, "I'm thankful to my partners at Netflix for supporting me and delaying the launch as we focus on the needs of those impacted by the wildfires in my home state of California." Now, either Meghan had further promos planned at the beginning of this week to plug her show and is now focusing her time on the communities devastated by the wildfires. We know some people were living in her house who've been evacuated to her friends. She's also been distributing food parcels and things like that alongside Prince Harry. Or, and I think this is probably even more likely, Ellie, as we were discussing earlier, she thinks it would be inappropriate to launch a glossy programme where she's in a $5 million mansion cooking food in Southern California as all these devastating fires are going on.
I think it's the right decision because it could really risk looking tone deaf, couldn't it? I mean, it's a house that's not even her own. She's there with all of her celebrity friends making these beautiful dishes. There's people now who don't even have a home to go to.
Exactly. 100,000 people have been evacuated, at least 24 dead at the last count, according to Reuters. And I think you're right, it would be particularly tone deaf. And Meghan doesn't need to do much, unfortunately, for her to get bad press, particularly in the United Kingdom. So I think this is, in hindsight, the right decision. I think there are a number of people praising her for that decision. So I suspect her cynics are still going to find a way to criticise her. But on the whole, I think anybody with a not biased view of Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, will probably conclude that it is the right decision for her to delay this series. So it's delayed until March the 4th. It's an 8-part series, and hopefully by that time, these fires will be well and truly extinguished.
Well, they're also getting criticism in the US as well from Jason Bateman's sister, that's the actor, talking about that photo opportunity that people are calling it, saying that Meghan Markle and Harry are no better than ambulance chasers and they're disaster tourists.
It is difficult, isn't it, for Meghan and Harry trying to find their place in the world. Are they media, entertainment personalities, celebrities, and doing Netflix and all the rest of it? Or are they going to be humanitarian workers like perhaps being members of the royal family would be? And I think at the moment they're kind of straddling those two different worlds, aren't they? And I think they're trying to find their place within it. And I think this could be one of the last hurrahs in terms of their Netflix deal, Meghan's series on her cooking programme. We'll see how it rates. The promo appears to be doing a lot better than Harry's Invictus and his Polo documentary. So whether that translates into views for the main programmes on Netflix, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think if there are still working members of the royal family, as I was saying last time, and this was happening in the United Kingdom, I suspect we would be seeing either them or the Prince and Princess of Wales or the King and Queen do something similar.
Okay. Cameron, thanks. Appreciate your take on that. Cameron Walker there. How about starting your new year with an incredible £50,000 in cash from us?
Yeah, well, it could all be yours in our biggest Great British giveaway so far. Here are all of the details that you need.
Britain's first drug consumption room. We will be there next.
I'm Martin Daubney. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Thank you, Britain.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for subscribing.
Thank you for your support.
It's you that make us the People's Channel.
As we reflect on our journey so far, we're filled with immense gratitude.
You mean the world to us. We couldn't have reached this point without you.
As a very special thank you, we are giving you the chance to win one of 50 GB News thank you boxes. They're worth £50 each.
For full terms and conditions, and to enter, just go to gbnews.com/thank you.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
And fashionistas are keen to see which new trends are set to hit the catwalk.
Well, our next guest is very well placed to share her predictions with us after being a contestant on hit ITV series Dress the Nation, as well as being an upcycling and sewing consultant.
Wow. Joining us now is Tendai Murewe. I want to go back to you appearing on the ITV Dress the Nation.
Right.
Tell us about that experience. What was that like?
Oh, that was one of my highlights as a upcycling consultant. I learned to sew in my kitchen 5 years ago. And then, during COVID, just making masks. Then the next thing I was on a Dress the Nation, making dresses in front of TV. Yeah, it was just incredible. I think we all had all these clothes that we have, but we don't know what to do with them. So mainly I started with men's jackets, taking off the sleeves and putting it like a print on.
I've tried this. I've tried taking off my sleeves before. I now have about 3 jackets with no sleeves. I never managed to put them back on.
You need to come to a workshop. You need to come to a workshop.
I need an upcycling consultant. 2025, what can we expect fashion-wise?
I think bold prints are back. People are loving. I think you walk on the streets in frollals and oversized men's jackets.
So the exact opposite. We have drastically underperformed this morning. You're just saying not like us.
We just woke up this morning and thought it's winter, it's cold, it's grey.
Grey, miserable.
Is that not the way to go?
No, it is. It's still, I think because fashion is expressive. It's whatever you want to express yourself.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
In Scotland today, the first abuse centre, people who take drugs, is being made legal. We're going to go to Tony Maguire there this morning and he will tell you more. Tony?
Hello, good morning. Sorry about that, little delay there on my end. Good morning to you both. Certainly this is a first for Scotland and a first for the UK. The first safe drug consumption facility here in Scotland was visited by the First Minister as well as the Cabinet Secretary for Health at the tail end of last week. This is going to be a centre that hopes to drive a wedge and begins to break up the damning drug deaths that have affected Scotland for generations now. Just last year we reported that in 2023 there were just shy of 1,200 people lost their lives to drugs in Scotland. Now this area where I'm in, the east end of Glasgow, this is quite a high concentration here of people who use public injection sites, and they're exactly the type of people that this centre hopes to reach out to and connect with, because it's in those sites where people can pick up various diseases and overdose without being under supervision. Now, the centre here in Glasgow, there's about 8 booths, and in them people are going to be able to go in and safely inject under medical supervision. The Thistle, as the centre is called, it's not going to be supplying drugs, and it can't actually test the quality of the drugs that come in to make sure that they're not laced with all sorts of other poisons. Now, speaking to the First Minister last week, it certainly seems that he has high hopes for the centre for this huge crisis that has been affecting Scotland for generations, as I said. Now, over the past few years, we've seen around 100 of these types of centres pop up all around the world. But it's uncertain as to whether this is going to take off here in the UK. Certainly the UK government have said that while they will not intervene in the Thistle Centre, that there's currently no plans for services of their ilk around the country. But I think it kind of speaks volumes when the previous UK government, the Conservative government, and the current UK government have decided to stand back and watch, because even they certainly know that Scotland's drug death crisis is certainly something that we need to find something in order to tackle it.
There for us in Glasgow. Thank you very much.
So do you have any objection to that? People must bring their own drugs.
They do.
Those drugs are not tested. We don't know if they're good, bad or indifferent, but they're doing it under a supervised capacity.
Yeah.
So is that a step forward or not? I actually thought they were given
No, they're not
cleared
supplied.
drugs. No.
Yeah, so they get them off-site, but then the idea is you go into this room and you're given a clean syringe, you're given clean needles, and you're given a safe space in which to inject.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is that you are.
Yeah.
And hopefully, whilst you're in that room and whilst you're in that facility, you are able to access help and support if you need it.
In our poll of the day, today we are asking, do you agree with Lisa Nandy that TV licences should be scrapped but replaced with a new tax? What's it saying so far?
Well, so far, 25% of you say yes, 75% of you say no. Very interesting. You can continue to vote throughout the day. The final result will be announced later in Martin Daubney's show. You can scan the QR code on your screens now, or you can go to gbnews.com/poll. Lots of you as well getting in touch on graves this morning, because Anna Riley was giving us a report a little bit earlier on about graveyards going green, and after about 85 years, bodies being exhumed and then more bodies being put in the ground.
Well, listen to this. Jeremy says, my father passed away in 2021 and we arranged his burial. The plot goes on a 10-year cycle and is then registered to a next of kin who's responsible for the upkeep of the grave. If the relative doesn't pay for the plot, the ground reverts back to the state. So there you go. Right. Here's a package that will explain all of this.
Honouring the fallen. More than 120 soldiers rest in war graves at Dewsbury Cemetery, but there's fears that their remains could be disturbed, along with those in other decades-old graves. The Law Commission proposed to reuse graves and open close cemeteries across England and Wales due to a shortage of burial space. The plans have been condemned by Christine Eamonn, whose family are buried here.
I was absolutely appalled at the thoughts that any grave that's 75 years or over, if this law gets passed, then they can dig that person up. I won't want to think that in 50 years' time, my daughter was going to get dug up and somebody else popped in it. There's 124 war heroes in Jubes Cemetery. They're all scattered about. Off they went, fighting for the country. How dare the Law Commission, how dare they even think about digging these soldiers up? This has got to be stopped. It's not fair, it's disrespectful.
Resident Paul Halloran supports Christine's petition against the reuse of closed graves.
It's abhorrent, you know, in the respect that, you know, these are people's family members, there's war graves in here, and just in the term alone, just using the term dig up is horrendous.
Kirklees Council, who maintain Dewsbury Cemetery, have said the council is aware of the current consultation being run by the Law Commission around burial and cremation. There are no proposals for reuse of burial ground in Kirklees. The Law Commission is now analysing responses to the proposals following a public consultation. It said grave reuse is already permitted by law, but only in London local authority cemeteries, Church of England churchyards, and a handful of burial grounds which have obtained Acts of Parliament for the purpose. The Law Commission is consulting on provisional proposals which could enable other burial ground operators to obtain grave reuse powers if they complied with 2 levels of safeguards. A final report with recommendations will be made to the government later this year. Until then, Christine and Paul will keep campaigning. Anna Riley, GB News.
See, I seem to be the only one worried about my demise and where and how I should be buried. I don't want cremated, I want buried, and I know where I want buried.
Well, you'd probably be all right in Belfast. It's here, England and Wales, where we're running out of space. They're talking about digging them up. You'll be okay.
Yeah, okay.
When you say you know where you want to be buried, you literally know.
Oh, he's going to be in a basilica and everything, which they'll build for him.
There'll be a...
I'm not being a basilica, but I mean, there's a family grave which I can go into.
Yeah.
Or I could have a plot in the same cemetery as my parents.
That would be nice.
But But my father, we did that for my father. My father used to go to the graveyard. There's a thing where you visit everybody up there and whatever. And then he would look over the Cave Hill in Belfast and say, I'd love that view. I'd love to lie there. And me and my brother Leonard went and bought it for him. And then my mum couldn't wait to be in there beside my dad.
Oh, but that's
side by
romantic.
side.
That's nice.
Oh, I know.
I think that's
It's
nice.
like a bed in there. It's not even like, not on top of each other, beside each other, whatever. Anyway, that's what we're...
cheery, isn't it?
Cheery. Well, Mike makes the point, don't worry about burial space, everyone. There'll soon be lots of farms available.
Oh.
Cheery.
Yeah,
You know,
fair
you
point.
can have these water cremations now, where you effectively get jet washed.
Jet washed
into
oblivion.
Into oblivion.
No, that's not great.
I quite like that. I love water.
Do you?
I'd quite like to be jet washed into oblivion.
No.
Not for you, Andrew. What are you doing?
We are talking farmers because Morrison's have come out in support of farmers, because part of the problem farmers have.
I'd like to hold them to
supermarkets who take so much money from them over milk, but Morrison's are backing the inheritance tax protest. So will more supermarkets come on their side? I hope so.
Yeah. Yes, it's great. It just shows that the action the farmers are taking, albeit still very peaceful and collaborative, is having an effect on the supermarkets. And the governments might not care about what the farmers think, but they will care about the big corporations like Tesco's and Asda and Sainsbury's. So let's see, it's an interesting moving story, that. And also vaccine compensation scheme, we're going to be talking about that at the top of the show, about the fact that West Streeting has said, maybe we need to look at this, and they do.
Guys, thank you very much indeed. We will love you and leave you, and we will see you tomorrow, 6 through to 9:30.
Yeah, here's the weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there. Very good morning to you. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. We start off this week with contrasts across the UK. High pressure is in charge in the southeast, keeping things fairly fine and settled, if rather cloudy. But low pressure in the northwest has already brought a frontal system in, so we're seeing outbreaks of rain for Scotland and Northern Ireland today, heavy in places. It will also be very gusty for these two countries, with gales around coastal areas at times. The rain will push its way into the far north of England later on this afternoon. That will allow for some slightly clearer, brighter spells to develop in the far north of Scotland. A few showers still lingering around, but it will be noticeably mild across northern areas today. Widely double-digit figures across both Scotland and Northern Ireland. This does mean we're going to see a rapid thaw of the snow that's been falling over the last week, so some local surface water issues are possible where this melts on